Rain hammered the courthouse steps as Alicia Rivers stumbled into freedom, or what should have been freedom. 3 years of marriage dissolved in 45 minutes, while her husband fucked his mistress across town. The divorce papers felt heavier than they should, maybe because of what Marcus didn't know, what nobody knew. She was 10 weeks pregnant with a dead man's baby. Dead because 4 hours later, Russian mobsters would drag her from the cafe where she worked minimum wage, and a stranger named Dante Russo would pay $500,000 to own her. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The rain turned the marble courthouse steps slick as ice. Alessia's heels clicked against stone, each step echoing in the emptiness behind her. The lawyer had promised Marcus would attend. Professional courtesy, he'd called it, closure. Marcus Chen hadn't shown his face. Alessia clutched the manila envelope containing 3 years of legal dissolution. Inside were signatures, notarizations, division of assets that didn't exist because Marcus had drained their account 6 months ago. The apartment went to him. The car went to him. She got her maiden name back and a stack of medical debt from her mother's final hospital stay. Freedom tasted like ash. She made it down 4 steps before her stomach turned. Morning sickness hit at the worst moments. During her dishwashing shift at Marino's Cafe, on the bus surrounded by commuters, now on the courthouse steps while rain soaked through her only professional blazer. Alessia bent forward, one hand pressed against the stone railing, breathing through her nose the way the internet said would help. It didn't help. "You all right?" A woman's voice, concerned but distant. Alessia straightened. "Fine, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She was 28 years old, divorced, pregnant, and had $43 in her checking account. The cafe paid weekly under the table. Rent was due in 5 days. Her landlord had stopped accepting late payments. The rain intensified. Alicia pulled her blazer tighter and headed toward the bus stop 3 blocks away. Her phone buzzed. A text from Shanice, her coworker. "Girl, where are you? Vince is pissed." She'd asked for the morning off. Vince had said no. She'd gone anyway because missing the divorce hearing meant rescheduling, and rescheduling cost money she didn't have. On my way, she typed back. The bus stop offered no shelter. Water poured off the overhang in sheets. Alessia stood beneath it anyway, watching traffic crawl through flooded intersections. A black Mercedes pulled up to the courthouse entrance. A man stepped out. Tall, expensive suit, moving like he owned the building and everyone inside it. She looked away. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Alessia almost didn't answer. Bill collectors had her number memorized. "Hello?" Silence. Then breathing. Heavy. Deliberate. "Wrong number," Alessia said and hung up. The phone rang again. Same number. This time she didn't answer. By the time the bus arrived, her clothes were soaked through. She climbed aboard, swiped her card, and collapsed into a seat near the back. The envelope sat in her lap like evidence of failure. 20 minutes to the cafe. She'd be 30 minutes late. Vince would dock her pay. Alessia closed her eyes and tried not to calculate how many shifts she needed to cover first and last month's rent on a new apartment. The answer was more than existed. Marino's Cafe occupied a corner lot in a neighborhood where gentrification fought poverty to a standstill. Half the storefronts were boutique coffee shops and organic markets. The other half were check-cashing places and bail bondsmen. The cafe fell somewhere in between. Decent food, cheap prices, cash only. Alessia entered through the back. Shanice looked up from the prep station, eyes wide. "Vince is on a warpath," she whispered. Said, "If you're not here in 5 minutes, don't bother coming back." "I'm here." 35 minutes late. Alessia tied on her apron. Her hands shook. "I'll talk to him." Vince stood in his office doorway, arms crossed. He was 50-something, gray beard, perpetually angry about something. Today, it was her. "My office. Now." She followed him into the cramped space that smelled like cigarettes and old grease. Vince shut the door. "You think I'm running a charity here?" "I asked for the morning. I said no. You came in anyway. You know what that tells me? Tells me you don't respect my time." Alessia's jaw tightened. "I had a court date. Not my problem. I'm here now." Vince leaned against his desk. "You're on thin ice, Rivers. Been late 4 times this month. I got people begging for your job. She wanted to tell him those people wouldn't last 2 weeks dealing with handsy customers and grease burns for $9 an hour. Instead, she said, "It won't happen again." "Damn right it won't, because next time you're done." He dismissed her with a wave. Alessia spent the next 6 hours washing dishes in scalding water that turned her hands red and raw. The cafe slammed during lunch. Plates stacked faster than she could clean them. Steam filled the kitchen. Sweat soaked through her shirt. The nausea returned around hour 3, but she swallowed it down and kept scrubbing. Shanice brought her a ginger ale during the mid-afternoon lull. "You look like death," Shanice said. "Feel like it too." "Court go okay?" Alessia nodded. "It's done." "Good. Marcus was a piece of shit anyway." That pulled a weak smile. "Yeah." Shanice hesitated. "You seen anybody new?" "God, no. Why?" "Just asking. You deserve better than that asshole." Alessia dumped another load of plates into the industrial sink. Better didn't exist in her tax bracket. Better was for women with college degrees and health insurance. She had a GED and a pregnancy she couldn't afford. By the time her shift ended at 7, exhaustion had settled into her bones. She counted her tips, $23, and added it to the envelope with the divorce papers. $66 total. She needed $600 by Friday. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflective under streetlights. Alessia walked the 4 blocks to the bus stop. Her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. She answered this time. "Who is this?" Heavy breathing. Then a voice, male, accented. "Alessia Chen?" Her maiden name hadn't updated everywhere yet. "Who's asking?" "You need to listen carefully. Your husband made mistakes. Big mistakes. People want payment." Her stomach dropped. "I'm divorced, as of this morning. Doesn't matter. You were his wife. That makes you collateral." The line went dead. Alessia stood frozen on the sidewalk. Around her, evening traffic hummed. A couple walked past laughing. Everything normal except the ice spreading through her chest. She called Marcus. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. Her hands trembled as she pulled up his social media. The latest post showed him at some rooftop bar with his girlfriend, a blonde named Christy who worked in marketing. They looked happy, drunk, oblivious. Alicia wanted to throw her phone into the street. Instead, she called the police non-emergency line, waited 18 minutes on hold, explained the call to a bored dispatcher who asked if she'd been directly threatened. He said, "I was collateral." "Did he threaten physical harm?" "Not exactly. File a report online if you want. Someone will follow up." Nobody would follow up. Alicia knew how this worked. She wasn't bleeding, wasn't important. Just another woman with an ex-husband's debts. The bus arrived. She climbed on and rode in silence, watching the city blur past. By the time she reached her stop, full dark had settled. Her apartment building loomed ahead, 4 stories of peeling paint and broken mailboxes. Home. She made it 3 steps inside when her phone rang again. Same number. "What do you want?" "Smart girl. We want what Marcus owes." "I don't have anything." "Then you'll work it off." The line went dead. Alessia's hands shook so badly she could barely unlock her apartment door. Inside, she threw the deadbolt and the chain, checked the window locks, drew the curtains. Then she sat on her kitchen floor and tried to remember how to breathe. Sleep didn't come. Alessia lay in bed staring at the ceiling, phone clutched in one hand. Every sound became footsteps. Every car passing became a threat. At 3 in the morning, she gave up and made coffee. The pregnancy test still sat in her bathroom drawer. She'd taken it 2 weeks ago, staring at the double lines while her entire world rearranged itself. Marcus had left her 4 months prior. The baby was his. The last time they'd slept together, a drunken mistake after she'd begged him to reconsider, to try again. He'd left anyway. And now she carried the consequence alone. Alessia pressed a hand against her still flat stomach. 10 weeks. She had decisions to make. Options that cost money she didn't have. Resources that didn't exist. The phone rang at 4:17 a.m. She didn't answer. It rang again at 4:45. And again at 5:30. By 6, Alessia was dressed and heading back to the cafe for the morning shift. Shanice wouldn't be in until 9. The morning cook, Ramon, barely spoke English. She'd be alone with her thoughts and the breakfast rush. Perfect. The cafe opened at 6:30. Alessia unlocked the doors, flipped the sign, and started coffee. The first customers trickled in by 7, construction workers, nurses ending night shifts, insomniacs seeking refuge. She poured coffee, took orders, delivered plates. Normal tasks. Normal routine. The phone stayed silent until 8:15. Then it buzzed with a text. "You have until tonight." Alessia's hand shook as she set down a coffee pot. "You good?" Ramon called from the kitchen. "Fine," she lied. Another text. "Don't make us come find you." She needed help, real help. But who? Her mother was dead. Her father had disappeared when she was 6. Friends from high school had scattered. Marcus's family had never liked her. The door chimed. A man walked in, mid-50s, cheap suit, eyes that swept the cafe with professional assessment. He sat at the counter. Alessia approached with coffee. "What can I get you?" "Just coffee. Black." She poured. He watched her the entire time. "You Alessia?" Her blood turned cold. "Who's asking?" He slid a business card across the counter. "Private investigator, licensed, bonded. Your ex-husband hired me to find you. Wants to talk." "About what?" "Didn't say. Just said it was urgent." Alessia set down the pot. "I have nothing to say to Marcus. You seem to think you might be in danger." "From who? Him?" The investigator shrugged. "I deliver messages, not guarantees. He's at the Meridian Hotel, room 412. Said to tell you it's about the calls." He left a 20 for a $3 coffee and walked out. Alessia stood frozen behind the counter. Marcus knew about the calls, which meant he knew exactly what he'd gotten her into. Shanice arrived at 9 and immediately noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Girl, don't lie to me." Alessia pulled her into the back. "Marcus got involved with some people, bad people. Now they're calling me." Shanice's eyes widened. "Calling you about what?" "Money he owes." "How much?" "I don't know." "What are you going to do?" Alessia didn't have an answer. Vince emerged from his office. "Rivers, table 6 needs refills." She returned to work in a haze. The morning blurred into afternoon. Customers came and went. The calls stopped, which somehow felt worse than when they'd been constant. At 2 p.m., her shift ended. Alessia stood on the sidewalk outside the cafe, staring at the business card. The Meridian Hotel was 6 blocks away. She could walk there in 15 minutes, or she could go home, lock the door, pretend Marcus's problems weren't hers anymore. Her phone buzzed. Last chance. That decided it. The Meridian Hotel occupied a corner lot near the financial district. Not luxury, but several steps above her neighborhood. The lobby had marble floors and a bored concierge who didn't look up as she headed for the elevators. 4th floor. Room 412. Alicia stood outside the door for a full minute before knocking. Footsteps. The lock clicked. The door opened. Marcus looked terrible, dark circles under his eyes, 3 days of stubble. His shirt was wrinkled, collar open. "You came," he said. "You have 2 minutes." He stepped back. "Come in, please." Against her better judgment, she entered. The room was standard corporate, queen bed, desk, TV. A laptop sat open on the desk next to scattered papers and an empty whiskey bottle. "What do you want, Marcus?" He ran a hand through his hair. "I fucked up." "Specifically?" "I borrowed money from the wrong people." "How much?" $200,000. Alessia's knees went weak. "What?" "I thought I could flip it. Invest in a startup. The company went under. $200,000. They want it back, with interest." She laughed. It came out harsh and broken. "Good luck with that." "Alicia, No. Whatever you're about to say, the answer is no." Marcus grabbed her arm. "They're going to kill me." She jerked free. "Then you should have thought about that before gambling away money you didn't have. I need your help." "I'm divorced from you, as of yesterday. Your problems aren't mine." "They think you're involved. They think you know where the money went." "I don't." "Doesn't matter what you know. It matters what they believe." Alessia's hands clenched. "Who are these people?" Marcus swallowed. "Russian syndicate. They operate out of Brighton Beach. Loan sharking, protection, money laundering. I borrowed from their street guy. Didn't realize who backed him. Jesus Christ, Marcus. I'm trying to fix this. I have a plan. Your plans are what got us here. Just listen. The door exploded inward. Two men rushed in, big, fast, professional. One grabbed Marcus and slammed him against the wall. The other moved toward Alessia. She ran, made it 3 steps before hands seized her shoulders and threw her back. She hit the floor hard, vision blurring. Pain shot through her hip. The man who'd grabbed Marcus spoke in accented English. "Where's money?" Marcus's face was pressed against the wall. "I told you, I need more time." "Time is over. Please, I can get it. Just give me—" The man hit him. Hard. Marcus's nose exploded blood across the wallpaper. Alessia tried to stand. The second man pushed her down. "Stay." She stayed. They beat Marcus methodically, not wild, not angry, just efficient. Ribs, stomach, face. He stopped trying to fight after the first 30 seconds. Just took it, body curling in on itself. 200,000, the first man said, plus 50 interest. You have 3 days. Marcus coughed blood. "I can't." Another hit. This one to the kidney. Marcus collapsed. The first man turned to Alicia. He was younger than she'd initially thought, maybe 30, cold eyes, expensive watch. "Your wife?" "Ex-wife. As of yesterday." "Doesn't matter. You pay his debt." "I don't have that kind of money." "Then you work it off." He pulled out his phone, took her picture. She tried to cover her face. He grabbed her jaw, forced her head up, took another. "We find you," he said. "Anywhere. Understand?" Alicia nodded. They left Marcus bleeding on the hotel room floor and walked out like nothing had happened. Alessia crawled to Marcus. He was conscious, barely. Blood covered his face. His breathing came shallow and pained. "Call 911, he whispered. She pulled out her phone, started to dial, then stopped. "Why should I?" "Alessia, you did this. You brought them into our lives, into my life. Please." She stood. Her hip screamed in protest. "Figure it out yourself." "I'm sorry." Those were the last words she heard as she walked out. Sack. Alessia made it to the lobby before the shaking started. She braced herself against a column, trying to breathe through the panic. Her hip throbbed. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Someone approached. "Miss? Are you all right?" She looked up. A man stood there, tall, dark-haired, suit that probably cost more than her annual income. Something about his stillness made her instinctively step back. "I'm fine," she said. He didn't move. "You don't look fine." "Not your problem." His eyes dropped to her hip. "You're hurt." "I fell." "In room 412. Alessia's blood froze. "How do you—" "I own this hotel." She stared at him. He stared back. Up close, he was younger than she'd thought, maybe 35. Dark eyes that missed nothing. A face that should have been handsome but instead registered as dangerous. "I should go," Alessia said. "You should sit, before you fall." "I'm fine." "You're not." He guided her to a lobby chair. She was too shaken to resist. He signaled the concierge, who appeared with a glass of water. Alessia drank. The man sat across from her. "What's your name?" She shouldn't tell him. "Alessia." "Alessia what?" "Rivers." Something flickered in his expression. "Recently divorced from Marcus Chen." It wasn't a question. "How do you know that?" "I know a lot of things, including that Marcus borrowed money from Sergei Volkov's organization." "You know them? Everyone knows them." He leaned forward. "And everyone knows Marcus Chen is a dead man." Alessia set down the water. "What do you want?" "To help." "Why?" "Because you're going to need it." She stood. Her hip protested, but held. "I don't need anything from you." "You're pregnant." The words hit like a physical blow. Alessia stumbled. The man caught her arm, steadying her. "How? You're pale, dehydrated. You keep touching your stomach unconsciously. And you walked out of that room without calling an ambulance for a man who was just beaten half to death. That's not callousness. That's self-preservation." Alessia jerked her arm free. "This is none of your business." It became my business when Volkov's men used my hotel to send a message. I'm leaving. He stood, pulled a card from his jacket, silver embossed, a crowned lion. No name, just a phone number. When they come for you, and they will, call this number. I don't need your help. Yes, he said quietly. You do. Alessia took the card, not because she'd use it, but because refusing felt more dangerous than accepting. She left the hotel without looking back. The cafe felt safer than her apartment. Alessia returned for the dinner shift even though she wasn't scheduled. Vince didn't question it. Extra hands meant he could leave early. She washed dishes until her fingers pruned, scrubbed pots until her shoulders ached, kept moving because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant falling apart. Shanice found her during a lull. You gonna tell me what's going on? No. Alessia? I can't. Not yet. Shanice pulled her aside anyway. Someone's looking for you. Alessia's stomach dropped. Who? Some guy. Came in around 6. Asked if Alessia Rivers worked here. What'd you tell him? That I didn't know any Alessia Rivers. What'd he look like? Big. Russian accent, scar on his neck. One of Volkov's men. Alessia's hands started shaking again. If he comes back, I know, I didn't see you. The dinner shift crawled past. Every time the door chimed, Alessia jumped. Every customer with an accent made her heart race. By closing time, she was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical. Vince locked up at 10. Alessia and Shanice left together. You got a place to stay tonight? Shanice asked. My apartment. Girl, come to mine. You can crash on the couch. Alessia wanted to, but bringing danger to Shanice felt worse than facing it alone. I'll be okay. You sure? Yeah. They hugged. Shanice headed east toward her neighborhood. Alessia went west toward hers. The streets were quieter at night, less traffic, more shadows. She walked fast, keys between her fingers like makeshift weapons. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. It buzzed again. Text message. We know where you work. Another text. We know where you live. A third. You have 1 day. Alessia stopped walking. Around her, the city hummed with indifferent noise. Cars, distant sirens, someone's music bleeding from an open window. She pulled out the silver card, stared at the crowned lion. 1 day. That's all she had before Volkov's men came for her. 1 day to find $250,000 she didn't have. 1 day to solve a problem that wasn't hers but would kill her anyway. Or she could call the number, trust a stranger who knew too much and offered help without explanation. Alessia stood on that corner for 10 minutes. Then she dialed. The phone rang once. A male voice answered. Not the man from the hotel. Someone else. Older. Yes? I was given this number. Name. Alessia Rivers. Silence. Then, stay where you are. Someone's coming. Wait. The line went dead. Alessia looked around. The street was empty. No cars, no people. Just her standing beneath a flickering streetlight with a phone in her hand and a terrible decision already made. 5 minutes passed. Then a black SUV turned the corner. It pulled up beside her. The back door opened. The man from the hotel sat inside. Get in. Alessia didn't move. Who are you? Someone who can keep you alive. Get in. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she climbed into the SUV. The door closed. The vehicle pulled away. And Alessia Rivers disappeared into the night with a man whose name she didn't know, carrying a baby from a failed marriage, running from debts that weren't hers, toward a future she couldn't imagine. The man watched her in the dim interior light. My name is Dante Russo. What do you want from me? Nothing. He paused. Yet. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Why are you helping me? Dante's expression didn't change, because Marcus Chen made enemies he couldn't handle, and those enemies just made you a target. I'm nothing to them. You were his wife. That makes you leverage. I'm divorced. Doesn't matter, not to them. Alessia looked out the window. The city slid past, familiar streets giving way to unfamiliar neighborhoods, wealth replacing poverty block by block. I can't pay you, she said. I didn't ask for payment. Everyone wants something. Dante smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Everyone does. But what I want isn't money. The SUV turned onto a private road. Gates opened automatically. The mansion that appeared looked less like a home and more like a fortress. Iron gates, stone walls, security cameras covering every angle. Alessia's hands clenched. What is this place? Home. The vehicle stopped. Dante exited, stood waiting. Alessia sat frozen. You can come inside, Dante said, or I can take you back. But if I take you back, you'll be dead by morning. How do you know? Because Volkov doesn't make idle threats, and Marcus Chen just ran out of time. Alessia thought about her apartment, her job, her $43, her baby. She got out of the SUV. Dante led her inside. The mansion was everything the exterior promised: marble floors, high ceilings, artwork that probably cost more than her entire neighborhood. But beneath the luxury, Alicia sensed something else: danger. Are you a criminal? She asked. Dante stopped, turned. Yes. The honesty shocked her. What kind? The kind that makes problems disappear. He studied her. Does that frighten you? It should. But it doesn't. Alessia met his eyes. I'm too tired to be frightened anymore. Something shifted in his expression, almost like respect. Come, I'll show you where you'll stay. He led her upstairs. The bedroom was larger than her entire apartment. King bed, private bathroom, windows overlooking grounds lit by security lights. Lock the door if it makes you feel safer, Dante said. But you're safe here. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted to hurt you, I already would have. He turned to leave. Dante? He stopped. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow, he said quietly, we make sure Marcus Chen's mistakes don't become your execution. He left her alone. Alicia locked the door anyway. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and finally let herself shake. Let herself feel the terror she'd been swallowing all day. Her phone buzzed. She almost didn't look, but she did. A message from Marcus. I'm sorry for everything. They're coming for me tonight. If you're reading this, I'm probably already dead. The money's gone. There's no fixing this. Run, as far as you can. Alessia stared at the message. Then she deleted it. And when she finally lay down on that impossibly soft bed in a stranger's mansion, protected by a man who admitted to being a criminal, carrying a baby from a marriage that had ended in divorce papers and blood, Alessia Rivers didn't feel like running anymore. She felt like surviving, whatever that took. Alessia woke to silence so complete it felt wrong. No sirens, no traffic, no neighbors screaming through paper-thin walls. Just darkness and the kind of quiet that came with money. Thick walls, distance from the world, insulation from reality. She lay still, trying to remember where she was. The events of the previous day crashed back. Marcus bleeding on hotel carpet, Russian accents promising violence, a stranger named Dante Russo who admitted to being a criminal and brought her to a mansion that felt more like a beautiful prison. Her phone said 4:30 a.m. Alicia sat up. The room looked different in darkness, shadows transforming luxury into something vaguely threatening. She found the bathroom, flipped on lights that were too bright, and stared at herself in the mirror. She looked destroyed. Dark circles, pale skin, hair a mess. The kind of exhaustion that went bone deep. Her hand moved to her stomach, still flat, still hiding the secret growing inside. 10 weeks. Maybe 11 now. She'd stopped tracking days when survival became the only calendar that mattered. The nausea hit without warning. Alicia barely made it to the toilet before her stomach emptied what little it contained. She knelt on cold marble, forehead pressed against the porcelain, waiting for the world to stop spinning. A knock on the bedroom door made her freeze. Alessia? Dante's voice. Quiet, but clear through the wood. She wiped her mouth. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Go away. Silence. Then footsteps retreating. Alessia stayed on the bathroom floor for another 10 minutes. When she finally emerged, dawn was starting to gray the windows. She found her clothes from yesterday, wrinkled, stained with dishwater and fear. and put them back on because she had nothing else. Another knock, softer this time. "What?" she called. "There's food downstairs, when you're ready." She wasn't hungry, but her baby needed food even if she didn't want it. Alessia unlocked the door. The hallway stretched in both directions, all dark wood and art she didn't understand. She followed the smell of coffee downstairs. The kitchen was massive. Commercial-grade appliances, island big enough to land aircraft, windows overlooking grounds that went on forever. Dante stood at the stove, cooking eggs. He'd changed clothes, dark slacks, white shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked less dangerous in daylight. Almost normal. Almost. "Sit," he said without looking up. Alicia sat at the island, watched him cook with the kind of efficiency that suggested he did this often. He plated eggs, toast, fruit, set it in front of her along with orange juice. "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway." "You're not my father." "No." He poured coffee for himself. "But you're pregnant and you threw up 10 minutes ago. Eat." Alicia stared at him. "How did you—" "The walls aren't soundproof." Heat flooded her face. She picked up a fork. The eggs were perfect. Soft, scrambled, seasoned right. Probably made with butter that cost more than her hourly wage. She ate because refusing felt more dangerous than complying. Dante watched her over his coffee. Not creepy, just observant, like he was cataloging information for later use. "Where's Marcus?" she asked. "Hospital, St. Catherine's, under police protection." "Protection from who?" "Me." The fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "You were going to kill him." "Still am, eventually." Dante set down his coffee. "But not yet. He's more useful alive for now." "Useful how?" "He knows things about Volkov's operation. Names, locations, money trails." Alessia pushed the plate away. "I don't care about Volkov's operation." "You should, because you're part of it now." "I'm not part of anything. They took your picture yesterday. That means you're in their system. A face, a name. Leverage they can use whenever Marcus stops being cooperative." Her hands clenched. "I didn't ask for this." "No one asked for these things. They happen anyway." She stood. The chair scraped loud against tile. "I should go." "Where?" "My apartment, my job, my life." Dante's expression didn't change. "Your apartment was broken into last night. They trashed it looking for money Marcus doesn't have. Your landlord called the police. They're treating it as a burglary." Alessia's legs went weak. She braced herself against the island. "How do you know this?" "I know everything that matters." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." He stood. "You can't go back there. It's not safe." "Then I'll find somewhere else." "Where? A shelter? Another roach-infested apartment you can barely afford? They'll find you in 48 hours. "Why do you care?" The question hung between them. Dante moved closer, not threatening, just present in a way that made the kitchen feel smaller. Marcus Chen owes $250,000 to men who don't forgive debts. He gambled that money away on a tech startup that imploded. Now he's hiding behind hospital security while Volkov's people look for anyone connected to him. I'm divorced from him. Legally, not strategically. Dante's eyes were dark, unreadable. You were his wife for 3 years. You know his habits, his friends, his hiding places. That makes you valuable. I don't know anything. They don't believe that. And even if they did, they'd use you to hurt him anyway. Because pain is a better motivator than reason. Alessia's throat tightened. So what am I supposed to do? Hide here forever? No, you're supposed to let me handle this. Why? Because I'm very good at making problems disappear. What's that supposed to mean? Dante smiled. It was cold, professional. The smile of a man who'd done terrible things and would do them again without hesitation. It means Marcus Chen created a mess, and I don't like messes in my city. Your city? My city. The way he said it left no room for argument. Alessia sat back down, her hands shook. I can't pay you. I didn't ask for payment. Everyone wants something. Yes. Dante leaned against the counter. Everyone does? So what do you want? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want you to trust me. I don't know you. No. But you know Marcus. You know what he's capable of, and you know I'm not him. Alessia looked at her hands, at the cheap wedding ring she'd forgotten to remove. She twisted it off her finger and set it on the counter between them. I'm not going back to him. Good. But I'm not staying here either. Then where will you go? She didn't have an answer. Dante picked up the ring, examined it. Cheap metal, probably turned your finger green. It did. He pocketed it. Considerate payment for breakfast. Despite everything, Alessia almost smiled. That's not how payment works. It is in my city. But the mansion felt different in daylight, less like a fortress and more like a museum where someone happened to live. Alessia wandered hallways lined with art she didn't recognize, rooms furnished with antiques that probably cost more than her annual salary. She found a library, floor-to-ceiling shelves packed with books in multiple languages, leather chairs, windows overlooking gardens maintained with obsessive precision. A woman stood by those windows, older, maybe 60, elegant in the way that came from bone structure and a lifetime of never worrying about money. She turned when Alessia entered. You must be Alessia. Her accent was faint, Italian maybe. I'm Isabella Russo, Dante's mother. Alessia froze in the doorway. I didn't know anyone else was here. I arrived this morning from New York. Isabella gestured to a chair. Sit, please. I should go. Nonsense. Sit. There was authority in the request, the kind Alessia had learned not to argue with during her marriage to Marcus. She sat. Isabella settled into the chair across from her. Dante tells me you're in trouble. That's one way to put it. And that you're pregnant. Alessia's hands went to her stomach reflexively. He had no right. He had every right. You're under his protection now. That means I need to know everything. I'm not under anyone's protection. Isabella's smile was sharp. You're in his home, eating his food, hiding from men who want to hurt you. That's protection, whether you call it that or not. I didn't ask for it. No one asks for these things, but here you are anyway. Isabella leaned forward. How far along? 11 weeks, maybe 12. And the father? Is bleeding in a hospital somewhere. Marcus Chen. Yes. And you hate him. Alicia met her eyes. I don't feel anything for him anymore, not even hate. That takes energy I don't have. Isabella nodded slowly. Good. Hate is useless. It clouds judgment. What do you want from me? I want to understand what my son has gotten himself into. I don't know what he's gotten himself into. He showed up at a hotel yesterday and dragged me here. He saved your life yesterday. Maybe. Or maybe he's just collecting leverage for later. Isabella laughed. It was unexpected, genuine. You're smarter than you look. Thanks, I think. It's a compliment. Isabella stood, walked to a cabinet and poured 2 glasses of water, brought one to Alicia. Dante doesn't save people out of kindness. He's not built that way. Then why did he save me? Because you're useful, or because Marcus Chen is his enemy, or both. Isabella sipped her water. But whatever his reasons, you're safer here than anywhere else. For how long? As long as it takes. Takes for what? Isabella's smile returned. For Dante to finish what Marcus started. Alessia spent the afternoon in the library. She tried reading but couldn't focus. Her mind kept circling back to Marcus in that hospital room, to Russian accents and threats, to Dante's cold smile when he said he was good at making problems disappear. Her phone buzzed. She'd turned it on airplane mode, but some texts still came through. Messages from Shanice asking where she was, missed calls from Vince, an email from her landlord about the break-in. Nothing from Marcus. Maybe he really was dead. Maybe that would solve everything, or maybe it would make things worse. Alessia pressed her hands against her eyes. She was so tired, tired of being scared, tired of running, tired of carrying problems that weren't hers while a baby grew inside her that she couldn't afford to keep and couldn't afford to lose. You're thinking too loud. She looked up. Dante stood in the doorway. He'd changed again, this time into a suit that probably cost what she made in 6 months. Where are you going? She asked. To see Marcus. Her stomach dropped. Why? Because he needs to understand the situation he's in. What situation? Dante's expression was unreadable. The one where I'm the only thing standing between him and a hole in the ground. You're going to threaten him. I'm going to make him an offer. What kind of offer? The kind he can't refuse. Alessia stood. I'm coming with you. No. He's my ex-husband. I have a right. You have no rights here. Dante's voice was flat, final. You're under my protection. That means you stay where I put you. I'm not a possession. No, you're a liability I'm choosing to manage. He adjusted his cuffs. Marcus made this mess. I'm going to clean it up. You're going to stay here and let me work. And if I refuse, then you can walk out that door right now. Take your chances with Volkov's people. See how far you get. The words hit like a slap. Alessia's hands clenched. You're an asshole. Yes. Dante moved toward the door. But I'm an asshole who's keeping you alive. He left. Alessia stood alone in the library, shaking with anger and helplessness and a fear she couldn't name. Night fell. Isabella brought dinner to Alessia's room. Soup, bread, fruit she didn't touch. He'll be back soon, Isabella said. I don't care when he comes back. Liar. Alessia looked up. Isabella was watching her with eyes that saw too much. You're angry because he's right, Isabella continued. You can't protect yourself, not from these people. So you have to trust someone who frightens you almost as much as they do. He doesn't frighten me. He should. Dante is his father's son, ruthless when he needs to be, dangerous when crossed. Isabella sat on the edge of the bed. But he's not cruel, not like some men I've known. What does that mean? It means if he says he'll keep you safe, he will, even if it means burning the city down to do it. Why would he do that for me? Isabella's smile was sad. Because you remind him of someone. Who? Someone he couldn't save. Before Alessia could ask more, headlights swept across the windows. Car doors. Voices. Isabella stood. He's back. She left Alessia alone. Alessia went to the window. Below, Dante emerged from a black SUV. Even from this distance, she could see tension in his shoulders. He spoke to someone, a man in a suit who nodded and disappeared into the shadows. Then Dante looked up, straight at her window. Even through glass and distance, Alicia felt the weight of that look. Something predatory, possessive. She stepped back, drew the curtains. Her hands were shaking again. Tikits. Sleep didn't come. Alessia lay in darkness, listening to the house settle. Footsteps in distant hallways. Doors closing. The hum of machinery she couldn't identify. At 2 a.m., she gave up and went downstairs. The kitchen was dark except for security lights bleeding through windows. Alessia found the refrigerator, pulled out milk, and was reaching for a glass when lights blazed on. Dante stood in the doorway. You should be asleep, he said. So should you. He moved into the kitchen. Up close, he looked exhausted. Lines around his eyes, tension in his jaw. He'd removed his jacket and tie. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. There was blood on his cuff. Alessia stared at it. Is that not mine? Marcus? No. Then whose? Dante didn't answer. He took the milk from her hands and poured 2 glasses, set one in front of her. Drink. She didn't move. What did you do? What needed to be done? That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. He drank his milk in 3 swallows, set the glass down. Marcus is alive, scared, cooperative. That's all you need to know. What did you offer him? Protection in exchange for information. What kind of information? Names, account numbers. Everyone involved in Volkov's operation who touched that money. Alessia's throat tightened. You're going to kill them. Some of them. And Marcus? Marcus lives as long as he's useful. Then what? Dante's eyes were cold, empty. Then he becomes a problem that needs solving. You mean you'll kill him too? If necessary. Alicia's hands clenched around her glass. He's the father of my baby. No. He's the man who abandoned you while you were pregnant, who gambled away money that wasn't his, who brought killers to your doorstep. Dante leaned against the counter. Biology doesn't make him a father. It makes him a sperm donor with debts. The words were brutal. True. Alessia looked away. I should hate you for talking about him like that. But you don't. No. Why not? She met his eyes. Because you're right, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Something shifted in Dante's expression, softened, just for a moment. The baby, he said quietly. Do you want to keep it? The question caught her off guard. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Alessia set down her glass. I can't afford a baby, can barely afford to feed myself, but every time I think about not keeping it, what? I can't breathe. Dante was silent for a long moment, then, if you want to keep it, I'll help. Why? Because no child should be born into the situation Marcus created. That's not your responsibility? I'm making it my responsibility. Alessia stared at him, at this stranger who looked at her growing stomach with something that almost resembled reverence, who spoke about her baby with more certainty than its actual father ever had. I don't understand you, she whispered. You don't have to understand me. You just have to trust me. I don't trust anyone. Then learn. Dante pushed away from the counter. Because tomorrow things get complicated. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow Volkov finds out I'm protecting you. And when he does, this stops being about Marcus's debt. It becomes about territory, power, respect. Fear coiled in Alicia's stomach. You're saying there's going to be a war. I'm saying there's already a war. You just became a casualty in it. I didn't ask for this. No one asked for war. It comes anyway. Dante moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. Get some sleep. You'll need it. He left her alone in the kitchen. Alessia stood there for a long time, staring at the blood on his discarded cuff. Morning came too fast. Alessia woke to voices downstairs, angry voices, men arguing in Italian so rapid she couldn't follow. She dressed quickly and went to investigate. The library had transformed into a war room, maps spread across tables, laptops open. 5 men in suits stood around Dante, who sat behind a desk looking like some modern version of a mob boss, which Alicia realized with cold clarity he probably was. Isabella stood by the window. She saw Alessia and shook her head, a clear warning to stay back. But Dante had already noticed her. Out, he said to the men. They filed out without argument. The last one, older, scarred, dangerous looking, paused to study Alessia. His expression was unreadable. Then he was gone. Dante gestured to a chair. Sit. Alessia sat. What's going on? Volkov knows you're here. Her blood turned to ice. How? Because I told him. You what? I sent him a message this morning, informed him that you're under my protection, that anyone who touches you answers to me. Alessia couldn't breathe. Are you insane? Probably. Dante closed his laptop, but I needed him to understand the situation. What situation? That I'm a target? That you're mine. The word hung between them. I'm not yours, Alessia said slowly. I'm not anyone's. Semantics. What matters is Volkov believes it, which means he has two choices, back down or escalate. And if he escalates, then people die. Alicia stood. Her hands were shaking. You can't do this. You can't just declare me your property and start a war over it. I didn't declare you my property. I declared you under my protection. There's a difference. Not to men like Volkov. No. Dante stood, moved around the desk. Not to men like him, which is why I needed to be clear. He was close now. Close enough that Alessia could see gold flecks in his dark eyes, could smell expensive cologne and something beneath it, gunpowder maybe, or blood. I didn't ask you to protect me, she whispered. You called my number. That was permission enough. I was desperate. And now you're safe. Am I? Alessia stepped back. Or am I just trapped in a different cage? Dante's jaw tightened. You're free to leave whenever you want. Really? Really. Then I'm leaving. She turned toward the door. Alessia. His voice stopped her. If you leave, I can't protect you. Volkov's people will find you within hours, maybe minutes. That's not protection. That's a threat. It's reality. Alicia looked back at him. At this man who'd inserted himself into her life with violence and certainty, who looked at her like she was something worth fighting for even though they were strangers. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want you to stay alive." "Why?" "Because Marcus Chen doesn't deserve the satisfaction of destroying you too." The answer was honest, brutal, true. Alessia's hands went to her stomach, to the baby growing inside her. The consequence of a failed marriage and one stupid night when she'd thought maybe Marcus would change. He hadn't changed. And now she was here, in a mansion with a criminal who made her feel safer than her own husband ever had. "If I stay," she said slowly, "what happens? You live here until this is resolved. How long will that take?" "As long as necessary." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Alicia closed her eyes, thought about her apartment with its broken windows, her job at the cafe where Volkov's people had already come looking, her bank account with $43, her baby who deserved better than all of it. "I need things," she said. "Clothes, toiletries, my prescription. Make a list. I'll have someone get everything. I need to call my job. Tell them I'm not coming back." "Already done. I paid Vince $2,000 for the inconvenience." Alessia's eyes snapped open. "You had no right." "I had every right. You were in danger. He was exploiting you. Now he's not." "That was my choice to make." "No, it was a choice you couldn't afford to make. So I made it for you." The presumption should have made her furious. Instead, she felt something else, something dangerous. Relief. "I'm not going to thank you," she said. "I didn't ask you to." They stood there, staring at each other across a library that felt smaller with every passing second. Finally, Alicia said, "What happens now?" "Now you make that list. Get some rest. Let me handle the rest." "And if Volkov doesn't back down?" Dante's smile was cold. "Then I handle him too." 3 days passed. Alessia existed in a strange limbo. She had her own room, her own space. Isabella brought her books and conversation. Dante appeared at meals, always polite, always distant. But beneath the civility, tension built like pressure before a storm. Men came and went at all hours. Conversations happened behind closed doors. Dante's phone rang constantly. On the 4th day, everything changed. Alessia was in the garden. Isabella had insisted fresh air would help with the nausea when she heard shouting. She ran back inside. The entrance hall had become a battlefield. 5 men, Volkov's people, she recognized one from the hotel, stood facing Dante and his men, guns drawn on both sides. "You had your chance," one of Volkov's men said in heavily accented English. "You chose wrong." Dante's expression was ice. "I chose exactly right." "Then you die with her." The Russian raised his gun. Everything happened at once. Dante moved. Fast. Inhumanly fast. He grabbed Alessia and threw her behind him as gunfire exploded through the hall. She hit the floor hard. Her ears rang. Someone screamed. Maybe her. When the shooting stopped, 3 of Volkov's men were dead. The other 2 were bleeding. Dante's people secured them with brutal efficiency. Dante turned to Alessia. His shirt was torn, blood on his shoulder. "Are you hurt?" She couldn't speak, couldn't move. He grabbed her shoulders. "Alessia, are you hurt?" "No." "Good." He pulled her to her feet. "Go upstairs, now." "Dante, now!" She ran, made it to her room and locked the door, pressed her back against it and slid to the floor. Below, she heard voices, orders being given, bodies being moved. Her hands went to her stomach. The baby was still there, still safe, for now. A knock on the door made her jump. "It's me," Isabella said. Alessia unlocked it. Isabella entered, took one look at her, and pulled her into a hug. "You're safe," Isabella murmured. "You're safe." But Alessia didn't feel safe. She felt like she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross, like she'd stepped into Dante's world completely, and there was no way back. That night, Dante didn't appear at dinner. Isabella said he was handling the situation, making calls. ensuring nothing like this happened again. Alessia barely ate. She couldn't stop seeing those men die, couldn't stop hearing gunfire echo through marble halls. At midnight, she heard footsteps outside her door. Then Dante's voice quiet. "Can I come in?" She should have said no. Instead, yes. He entered. He'd changed clothes, bandage on his shoulder. He looked exhausted. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" "For bringing this to your door." "You didn't bring it. Marcus did." "I escalated it." Alessia sat on the edge of the bed. "Those men, are they dead?" "Yes." "Because of me." "Because of Volkov's arrogance." Dante sat beside her, not too close, respectful of space even now. "He thought he could intimidate me. He was wrong. And now? Now he knows you're untouchable. What if he doesn't care? Then more people die until he does." The casual way he said it should have horrified her. Instead, Alessia felt something shift inside her. She looked at this man who'd killed for her, who'd stepped between her and bullets, who touched her stomach with reverence when he thought she wasn't paying attention. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Good. Fear keeps you alive." "I'm scared of you." Dante met her eyes. "You should be." "But I'm more scared without you." Something flickered in his expression. "Alessia, don't." She stood, paced to the window. "Don't tell me this is just protection. Don't tell me you're doing this out of some sense of duty." "Then what do you want me to tell you?" She turned. "The truth. The truth is dangerous." "I don't care." Dante stood, moved toward her slowly, like approaching something fragile. "The truth," he said quietly, "is that I saw you in that courthouse hallway and everything stopped. The truth is I've built an empire on violence and control, but the moment you crashed into me, none of it mattered. The truth is you're carrying another man's baby, and I don't care. I look at you and I see something worth protecting, worth keeping, worth—" He stopped. Alessia's breath caught. "Worth what?" "Worth everything." The words hung between them. Then Alessia closed the distance and kissed him. It was desperate, reckless, wrong in every logical way. And it felt like the first right thing she'd done in months. Dante responded immediately. His hands cupped her face, gentle despite the violence she knew those hands capable of. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alessia whispered, "This is insane." "Yes." "We barely know each other." "Yes." "I'm pregnant with my ex-husband's baby." "I don't care." "You should." Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. "I don't care about biology. I don't care about Marcus. I care about you. And if you want this baby, then it's mine too." Alessia's eyes filled with tears. "You can't just decide that." "Watch me." And in that moment, staring at a man who'd killed for her and would kill again, who looked at her broken life and saw something worth saving, Alessia Rivers made her choice. She surrendered. Not to fear, not to circumstances, but to him. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered. "Just stay." Dante nodded. They lay together on top of the covers, fully clothed, his arm around her, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat steady and strong. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them slept. But somewhere in that darkness, holding each other while the world burned around them, everything changed, and there was no going back. Alessia woke to empty sheets and cold morning light. Dante was gone. The indentation where his body had been remained, but the warmth had long since faded. She touched the space anyway, fingers spreading across expensive cotton that smelled like him, gunpowder and expensive cologne, and something darker she couldn't name. Her phone said 6:30 a.m. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what she'd done, what they'd done. Nothing physical beyond holding each other through the night, but the intimacy felt more profound than sex. More dangerous. She'd let him in, not just into her bed, but into the carefully constructed walls she'd built around herself during 3 years of marriage to Marcus. Walls that had kept her functional, numb, safe. Dante had demolished them in 4 days. The nausea hit before she could stand. Alessia barely made it to the bathroom before her stomach emptied. She knelt on cold tile, forehead pressed against porcelain, waiting for the world to stop spinning. When she finally emerged, Isabella stood in the bedroom doorway. "How long have you been there?" Alessia asked. "Long enough?" Isabella entered carrying a tray, ginger tea, dry toast, fruit. "Sit, eat." "I'm not hungry. The baby is." Alessia sat, picked at toast that tasted like cardboard. Isabella watched her with eyes that missed nothing. "He didn't touch you," Isabella said. Not a question. "No. But you wanted him to." Heat flooded Alessia's face. "That's none of your business." "Everything that happens in this house is my business." Isabella poured tea. "Especially when it involves my son making promises he might not be able to keep." Alessia set down the toast. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Dante is playing a dangerous game, using you as a piece on a board you don't understand." "I'm not a piece." "Aren't you?" Isabella's smile was sad. "You're pregnant with Marcus Chen's baby. Marcus owes Volkov $250,000. Dante has declared you under his protection, which makes you valuable to everyone involved. You don't think that's strategic?" The words hit like a physical blow. Alessia stood. Her hands shook. "You're saying he's using me. I'm saying my son doesn't do anything without calculating the cost first, and right now you're worth more alive than dead. To him. To Volkov. To Marcus. Get out. Alessia, get out." Isabella left without another word. Alessia stood alone in that bedroom, shaking with rage and something worse, doubt. The kind that burrowed under skin and poisoned everything it touched. Was Isabella right? Was Dante just using her? She thought about last night, the way he'd held her, the reverence in his voice when he said the baby was his too. That couldn't be fake. Could it? Alessia found Dante in his office. He sat behind a massive desk covered in papers, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. When he saw her, he held up one finger. Wait. She didn't wait. "We need to talk." Dante said something into the phone and hung up. "What's wrong? Is your mother right?" "About what?" "About you using me." His expression didn't change. "What did she tell you?" "That I'm valuable. That you're playing some game I don't understand. That everything you've done is strategic." Dante stood, moved around the desk. "And you believe her?" "I don't know what to believe." "Then believe this." He stopped inches away, close enough that she could see exhaustion in his eyes. "Yes, you're valuable. Yes, protecting you serves my interests, but that doesn't mean I'm using you." "How is that not the definition of using someone?" "Because I would protect you even if it cost me everything." The words should have reassured her. Instead, they terrified her. "Why?" she whispered. "Because—" Dante stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "Because you walked into my life carrying another man's baby and looking at me like I was either salvation or damnation, and I couldn't tell which scared you more." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Alessia's hands clenched. "Your mother said you don't do anything without calculating cost." "She's right." "So what's the cost of protecting me?" "War with Volkov, loss of territory, dead men, probably millions in revenue." The casual way he listed it made her stomach turn. "And you think I'm worth that?" "I know you are." "You don't even know me." "I know enough." Alessia turned away, paced to the window overlooking grounds patrolled by armed men. "This is insane. We're insane." "Probably. I should leave." "You can't." "Why not?" "Because last night changed things." She spun around. "What things?" Dante pulled out his phone, pulled up a photo, showed her. It was a picture of them, taken through the bedroom window. Alessia in Dante's arms, his face buried in her hair. Intimate. Damning. "Where did you get this?" "Volkov sent it this morning, along with a message." "What message?" "That you're no longer leverage. You're a liability, and liabilities get eliminated." The room tilted. Alicia grabbed the desk for support. "He's going to kill me." "He's going to try." "What's the difference?" "The difference," Dante said quietly, "is that I won't let him succeed." "You can't protect me forever. Watch me." The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it felt like a cage closing around her. What if I don't want to be protected? Alessia asked. What if I want to go back to my shitty apartment and my shitty job and my shitty life, where the only person trying to kill me was my own bad decisions? Then you'd be dead by tomorrow. At least it would be my choice. Dante's jaw tightened. You think you had choices before? You think washing dishes for $9 an hour while your ex-husband gambled away money that got you targeted by the Russian mob was a choice? It was my life. It was survival. There's a difference. And this? Alessia gestured at the mansion, the guards, the blood that had soaked into marble floors 4 days ago. What is this? This is me giving you an option survival never did. What option? To live instead of just existing. The words hit harder than they should have. Alessia sank into a chair, put her head in her hands. I can't do this. Yes, you can. You don't understand. I'm not built for this world, your world. I'm just some girl who made bad choices and got pregnant by the wrong man. Dante knelt in front of her, pulled her hands away from her face. You're the woman who survived 3 years with a man who didn't deserve you, who kept working even when exhaustion nearly killed you, who protected a baby you weren't sure you could keep. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't about feeling. It's about what you do when everything's falling apart. Alessia met his eyes. What do I do now? You trust me, and you let me handle the rest. What if I can't trust you? Then we're both fucked. Despite everything, she almost laughed. That's honest. I'm always honest, even when it hurts. Alessia studied him, this man who'd killed for her, who held her through the night, who looked at her stomach like it contained something precious, even though the baby wasn't his. If I stay, she said slowly, I need to know everything. No more secrets, no more strategic omissions. Everything. Dante nodded. Ask. What did you do before I showed up? I ran the city's underground, gambling, protection, money laundering, anything that made profit and didn't involve drugs or trafficking. Why not drugs? Because I watched them destroy my father. I won't profit from that. The answer surprised her. Your father's dead? 10 years now. Overdose in a hotel room with 2 prostitutes and enough cocaine to kill a horse. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a bastard who deserved worse. Dante stood. Next question. Why did you really help me? I told you. No, the real reason, not the romantic bullshit about seeing me and everything stopping. The strategic reason. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, Marcus Chen worked for me 2 years ago. Money laundering through his investment firm. He skimmed off the top. Not much, just enough that I noticed. Alessia's blood turned cold. What did you do? I gave him a choice. Pay back what he stole or disappear. He paid. Got out of the business. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. No, he borrowed from Volkov to cover what he owed me, which means his debt to Volkov is really a debt to me that got transferred. The room spun. So this whole time, you've been caught in the middle of a power struggle between me and Volkov. And when I saw you in that courthouse, I realized Marcus had dragged his pregnant ex-wife into something that was always going to get her killed. Alessia stood, backed away. You knew. From the beginning, you knew exactly who I was. Yes. And you used that. Yes. Jesus Christ. Alessia? Don't. She held up a hand. Don't say my name like that. Like you care. I do care. You care about winning, about beating Volkov, about settling scores with Marcus. I'm just collateral damage you decided to keep. That's not true. Isn't it? Tears burned her eyes. She refused to let them fall. You said you'd be honest, so be honest now. If I wasn't connected to Marcus, would you have helped me? Dante's silence was answer enough. Alessia laughed. It came out broken. That's what I thought. She walked toward the door. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. Alessia, stop. Why? So you can lie to me some more? Tell me I'm special while using me as a pawn? I'm not using you. You just admitted you knew who I was. That I'm part of some vendetta between you and Volkov. That's how it started. It's not how it is now. I don't believe you. Dante moved faster than she could track. Grabbed her arm. Not hard. Just firm enough to stop her. Look at me. She didn't want to, but she did anyway. His eyes were dark, intense, honest in a way that made her chest ache. Yes, I knew who you were. Yes, protecting you serves my interests, but everything I said last night was true. The baby. You. All of it. How am I supposed to believe that? Because I'm telling you the truth now, even though it's destroying whatever trust we built. We didn't build trust. We built a lie. No. We built something real on a foundation of strategy. That doesn't make it less real. Alessia pulled her arm free. I need air. You can't leave the grounds. Then I'll walk the fucking grounds. She left before he could stop her. Bets. The gardens were massive. Acres of carefully maintained lawns, flower beds, stone paths that wound through trees older than she was. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Watching. Waiting. Alessia walked until her legs ached, until the mansion was a distant shape behind her, until she reached a stone bench near a fountain where she finally collapsed. Her hands went to her stomach. 13 weeks now, maybe 14. The baby was the size of a lemon, growing fingernails, developing vocal cords, completely dependent on her to survive, and she had no idea how to do that. Footsteps on gravel made her look up. Isabella approached, moving with the kind of grace that came from a lifetime of money. I owe you an apology, Isabella said. For what? For making you doubt him. She sat beside Alessia. What I said this morning was true. Dante doesn't do anything without strategy, but that doesn't mean he's incapable of genuine feeling. Could have fooled me. He's his father's son, taught from birth to see people as assets or liabilities, to calculate costs before emotion, to never show weakness. Isabella's hands folded in her lap. But he's also my son, and I raised him to understand that some things are worth more than profit. Like what? Like love, family, loyalty that isn't bought. Alessia looked away. He doesn't love me. He barely knows me. No, but he wants to. And for a man like Dante, wanting something is the first step toward destroying himself to get it. That's not reassuring, Isabella smiled. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be honest. She paused. He told you about Marcus, about the money laundering. Yes. And you're angry he didn't tell you sooner. Wouldn't you be? Probably, but I also understand why he waited. Why? Because if he'd told you the truth in that hotel lobby, you never would have trusted him. You would have run, and Volkov's people would have killed you before dawn. The logic was sound. Alessia hated that it was sound. So what? She said. I'm supposed to just accept being manipulated because it kept me alive? No, you're supposed to decide whether his manipulation matters more than his actions. What's that supposed to mean? Isabella stood. It means my son has started a war to protect you, has killed men to keep you safe, has looked at a baby that isn't his and claimed it anyway. You can hate him for lying about his motives, but you can't hate him for what he's done since. She left Alessia alone with her thoughts. Okay. Alessia returned to the mansion as sunset bled across the sky. Guards nodded as she passed. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. She found Dante in the library. He stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and dangerous. I don't care what it costs. Find them. All of them. He hung up when he saw her. What's wrong? Alessia asked. Volkov made a move. What kind of move? He hit one of my operations, burned it to the ground, killed 3 of my men. Alessia's stomach dropped. Because of me. Because of the war I started when I protected you. Yes. Oh, God. It's not your fault, isn't it? If I hadn't called you, if you hadn't called me, you'd be dead. And 3 different men would have died in some other operation. This is what Volkov does. He pushes until something breaks. What are you going to do? Dante's expression was ice. I'm going to push back. Meaning? Meaning tomorrow I'm hitting every operation Volkov has in this city. Gambling dens, strip clubs, money laundering fronts, everything. That's insane. It's necessary. People will die. Yes. And you're okay with that? Dante turned to face her fully. No, but I'm willing to accept it. There's a difference? There's always a difference between accepting and being okay. I accept that men will die. I accept that this city will bleed. I accept that Volkov will retaliate even harder, but I'm not okay with any of it. Then why do it? Because if I don't, he'll see weakness. And weakness in this world is a death sentence. Alessia wrapped her arms around herself. I don't know if I can live in this world. You're already living in it. You just didn't know it until now. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? You were targeted before you met me. Marcus made sure of that when he borrowed money he couldn't pay back. All I did was give you a chance to fight back instead of just being a victim. By making me complicit in a war. By keeping you alive long enough to make your own choices. Alessia's hands clenched. What if my choice is to walk away from all of this? From you? From Volkov? From everything? Then I'll drive you to the airport myself. The answer shocked her. Really? Really? I told you before, you're not a prisoner here. But I can't actually leave. No. So what's the point of the choice? The point, Dante said quietly, is that you get to decide how you survive. As a victim, or as someone who fights. I'm not a fighter. You're more of a fighter than you know. He moved closer, not threatening, just present in a way that made the library feel smaller. I lied to you, he said. Or at least I omitted truths that mattered, and I'm sorry for that. But everything else, everything I said about you, about the baby, about wanting to protect you, that was real. How am I supposed to know the difference? You can't. You just have to decide whether to trust me anyway. Alessia stared at him. At this man who'd inserted himself into her life with violence and lies, and something that might be love if she let herself believe it. I hate you, she whispered. I know, but I can't leave. I know that too. So what do we do? Dante's hand came up, cupped her face, gentle despite everything. We survive, together. Alessia closed her eyes, leaned into his touch despite every logical reason not to, and somewhere in that moment she made another choice. Not to forgive him, not to trust him completely, but to stop fighting alone. That night, Alessia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around her. Footsteps in hallways, distant voices, the hum of security systems running 24/7. At 2 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then thought, fuck it. What else could go wrong? Hello? Heavy breathing, then a voice she recognized. Marcus. Alessia, thank God. She sat up. How did you get this number? I need your help. You need... She laughed, came out harsh. You need my help. That's rich. Please, just listen. I'm done listening to you. They're going to kill me. Good. Alessia, you dragged me into this, Marcus. You gambled away money that got me targeted. You lied about everything, and now you want my help? I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. I know, but I can fix it, I mean. Despite herself, Alessia hesitated. How? I have information about Volkov's operation, bank accounts, wire transfers, everything. So give it to the police. Can't. I'm in too deep. If I talk, I go to prison. Again, good. But if I give the information to Dante, he can use it. End this war. Alessia's grip on the phone tightened. Why would you help Dante? Because he's protecting you. And whatever else I did wrong, I never wanted you hurt. The words should have meant something. They didn't. What do you want from me? Alessia asked. Meet me. Tomorrow. Alone. I'll give you everything. I'm not meeting you alone. You have to. Dante's people are watching me. If they see me hand this over, Volkov will know. He'll disappear, and this war will never end. Then email it, or upload it somewhere. Can't. It's physical documents, ledgers, the only copies that exist. Alessia's mind raced. Where? The old cannery, near the docks. Tomorrow at noon. Marcus, please, this is the only way I can fix what I broke. The line went dead. Alessia sat in darkness, phone clutched in her hand, mind spinning. Marcus was offering a way to end this, real documentation that could destroy Volkov's operation. But meeting him alone was insane, dangerous, suicidal. She should tell Dante, but if she told Dante, his people would come. And Marcus was right. Volkov would know, would disappear, would keep hunting her forever. Alessia looked at the clock. 11 hours until noon. 11 hours to decide whether to trust her lying ex-husband one more time, or to let this war continue until everyone she cared about was dead. Morning came too fast. Alessia dressed in silence. Jeans, t-shirt, the most unremarkable clothes she owned. She found Dante in the kitchen making coffee. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep." He studied her. "Something wrong?" "No, just thinking." "About?" "Everything." Dante poured 2 mugs, set one in front of her. "Talk to me." She should tell him about Marcus's call, about the documents, about the meeting. Instead, she said, "When does this end? The war?" "All of it. When Volkov's dead or broken, whichever comes first. And if neither happens, then we keep fighting until one of us runs out of resources." "How long could that take?" "Months, maybe years." Alessia's hands wrapped around the mug, warm, solid, real. "I can't live like this for years." "I know. So what do I do?" Dante's expression softened. "You let me handle it." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Alessia drank her coffee in silence, tasting bitterness that had nothing to do with caffeine. At 11:30, she told Isabella she was going for a walk in the gardens. At 11:45, she slipped through a service entrance the guards didn't monitor as closely. At 11:50, she was in a taxi heading toward the docks. And at noon exactly, Alicia walked into the abandoned cannery where her ex-husband waited with either salvation or her execution. Marcus stood near the windows, thinner than she remembered, bruised, one arm in a sling. "You came," he said. "I'm here. Where are the documents?" He held up a manila envelope. "Right here." Alessia held out her hand. "Give them to me." "First, we need to talk." "No, first, you give me what you promised. Then maybe I listen." Marcus's expression crumpled. "I'm sorry. For everything." "You said that already. I mean it. I don't care. Give me the envelope." He moved closer, too close. Alessia stepped back. "Please," Marcus said, "just listen." "I'm done listening to you. The baby is none of your business. It's my baby. Biologically. That's it." Pain flashed across his face. "That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. You made sure of that." Alessia's voice was ice. "Now give me the fucking documents or I'm leaving." Marcus held out the envelope. Alessia grabbed it. That's when everything went wrong. Men appeared from the shadows. 6 of them. Big, armed, professional, Volkov's people. Marcus stepped back, away from her, toward them. Alessia's blood turned to ice. "What did you do?" "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered, "but they made me an offer." "What offer?" "Your life for my debt." The world stopped. Alessia stared at the man she'd married, the man whose baby grew inside her, the man who'd just sold her to killers. "Marcus, they promised they'd make it quick, painless." "You fucking bastard! I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice." The nearest man grabbed her. Alessia fought, kicked, screamed. It didn't matter. He was too strong, too practiced. She felt something sharp in her arm. A needle. The world tilted. No. Darkness swallowed her whole. Seats. Alessia woke to agony. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like copper. Her body felt wrong, too heavy, too distant, like it belonged to someone else. She tried to move. Couldn't. Her wrists were zip-tied to a chair, her ankles bound. Panic flooded her system. "She's awake!" The voice was accented, Russian, familiar. Alicia forced her eyes open. The room was concrete, industrial, probably a warehouse somewhere she'd never find her way out of. A man stood in front of her, late 50s, gray hair, cold eyes. Expensive suit that looked wrong in this setting. Alessia Rivers, he said. We finally meet. I am Sergei Volkov. She tried to speak. Her tongue felt thick. Where? Somewhere Dante Russo will never find you. Volkov pulled up a chair, sat facing her. You cost me a great deal of money and embarrassment. I don't appreciate either. I didn't do anything. You fucked Dante Russo. That was enough. We didn't. Doesn't matter if you did or didn't. He claimed you, protected you, started a war over you. That makes you valuable. Alessia's vision swam. What do you want? I want Dante to understand that some things can't be protected. Volkov stood. And then I want you to die, slowly, while he listens. Terror cut through the drug haze. Please. Begging won't help. Neither will screaming. This building is soundproofed. I'm pregnant. That stopped him. What? 13 weeks. Dante doesn't know. Volkov studied her. You're lying. I'm not. Check if you don't believe me. He gestured to someone behind her. Hands grabbed her, lifted her shirt. She felt a hand press against her stomach, searching. She's telling the truth, a woman's voice said. I can feel it. Volkov's expression darkened. Whose baby? Marcus Chen's. And Russo knows? Yes. And he protects you anyway? Yes. Volkov laughed. It was cold, cruel. Then he's a bigger fool than I thought. He leaned close. This changes nothing. You still die. But now Russo loses not just you, but the baby he was stupid enough to claim. Alessia's breath came in gasps. Please, the baby didn't do anything. Neither did the 3 men Russo killed in my operation. Neither did the dozen more who died in the fires he set. Volkov's hand gripped her chin, forced her to look at him. This is war, and in war, everyone loses something. He released her, walked toward the door. Wait, Alessia screamed. Wait! He stopped. I have information about Dante, about his operations, everything. Volkov turned. What kind of information? Bank accounts, warehouses, his entire network. The lies came easily. Survival made excellent liars of everyone. Let me go and I'll tell you everything. Or I could torture it out of you. You could, but torture makes people say anything. I'm offering the truth. Volkov studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Interesting. He returned to his chair. Start talking. And Alessia did. She told him lies wrapped in enough truth to sound believable. Invented bank accounts with numbers close enough to real ones to pass initial scrutiny. Named warehouses that existed but weren't Dante's. Wove a web of misinformation designed to do one thing: buy time. Because somewhere in this city, Dante would realize she was gone. And when he did, he'd burn the entire world to find her. She just had to survive long enough for him to succeed. Volkov listened, asked questions, tested her answers against things he already knew, and slowly, impossibly, he started to believe her. This information, he said finally, it's worth your life? It's worth more than my life. It's worth ending Russo. And you'd betray him, the man protecting you? Alessia met his eyes. Let him see hatred there. Let him see a woman scorned. He lied to me, used me, made me think I mattered when I was just a pawn. So yes, I'll betray him, happily. Volkov smiled. I believe you. He stood, gestured to his men. Keep her alive, comfortable. She's more useful talking than screaming. They cut her zip ties, helped her to a cot in the corner, brought water and bread. Alicia ate mechanically, drank without tasting, played the role of betrayed woman while her mind screamed, because she'd just bought herself time. But time was running out, and somewhere in this city, Dante Russo was about to discover that the woman he'd started a war to protect had disappeared. And when he did, the world was going to burn. Dante knew something was wrong the moment he walked into the garden and found it empty. Alessia always walked the same path, past the fountain, through the rose beds, to the stone bench where she sat and touched her stomach like she was having conversations with the baby growing inside. But the bench was empty. The garden silent except for wind through trees. He pulled out his phone, called her. Straight to voicemail. Something cold settled in his chest. Marco, he called to the nearest guard. Where's Alessia? Haven't seen her, boss. Not since she went inside an hour ago. Dante was already moving. He took the stairs 3 at a time, burst into her bedroom, empty, bathroom empty, closet untouched except for the clothes she'd been wearing that morning, gone. He found Isabella in the library. Where is she? Isabella looked up from her book. Who? Alessia. Where the fuck is she? I assume she was with you. She's not. Her phone's off. She's not in the gardens, not in the house. His hands clenched. When did you last see her? This morning. She said she was going for a walk. Dante was already on his phone, calling his head of security. Pull every camera, inside and out, last 2 hours. Find her. He hung up, paced, his mind racing through possibilities. She'd left voluntarily, or she'd been taken. Either way, she was vulnerable, exposed. His phone rang. Security. Talk to me. Found her on cameras, 11:47. She went through the service entrance, alone. Dante's blood turned to ice. Alone? Yes, boss. No signs of coercion. She walked out on her own. Where did she go? Called a taxi. We're pulling traffic cams now. Dante ended the call. Turned to Isabella. She left, voluntarily. Why would she? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. His phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Dante Russo. The voice was accented, Russian, familiar, Volkov. I have something that belongs to you. Dante's grip on the phone tightened until plastic cracked. If you hurt her. Hurt her? Why would I hurt such valuable merchandise? Where is she? Somewhere safe. For now. Volkov's voice was smooth, amused. She's been very helpful, telling me all about your operations. Bullshit. Is it? She gave me account numbers, warehouse locations, very specific details. Dante's mind raced. Alessia didn't know his operations. She couldn't have given real information even if she wanted to. Which meant she was lying to Volkov, buying time. Smart girl. What do you want? Dante asked. I want you to understand something. You can't protect everyone. You can't win every war. Some things are beyond even your control. I'm going to kill you. Probably, eventually, but first you're going to watch her die. The line went dead. Dante stood frozen for 3 seconds, processing, calculating. Then he moved. Isabella, get out of the city. Tonight. Don't tell me where. Dante, now. He was already calling his lieutenants. Everyone to the house. 15 minutes. Full weapons. This is war. 20 minutes later, 15 men filled Dante's office. Hard men, dangerous men, the kind who didn't flinch at violence. Dante stood behind his desk. Volkov has Alessia. Silence. Then one of his men, Carlo, scarred and lethal, spoke. How? She walked out. Alone. Met someone. Probably Marcus Chen. The ex-husband? Yes, he set her up, delivered her to Volkov. Where is she now? I don't know. But I'm going to find out. Dante pulled up a map on his laptop. Volkov has 6 primary locations in the city. Warehouses, strip clubs, a casino. One of them is holding her. We hit all 6, Carlo said. No, we hit 5. I hit the 6th. Which one? The one Alessia would have told him about. Carlo frowned. She doesn't know your operations. Exactly, which means she's lying to him, feeding him false information to buy time, and the only warehouse she knows about is the one she'd have heard Marcus mention. The cannery on the docks. Yes. Another lieutenant spoke. That's a trap. Volkov knows you'll come. I'm counting on it. Boss, this ends tonight, one way or another. Dante's voice was ice. Divide into teams. Hit his operations simultaneously. Burn them to the ground. Kill everyone who resists. Leave no structure standing. And the police? We'll be too busy dealing with fires across the city to care about one warehouse. Carlo nodded. When? Dante checked his watch. 1 hour. That gives Alicia 2 hours with Volkov. If she's still alive, we extract her. If she's not, she will be, Carlo said. If she's not, Dante continued, we make sure Volkov joins her. The men dispersed. Dante was left alone with his rage and his fear and something worse, guilt. He'd brought this to her door. He'd pulled her into his world. He'd made her a target, and now she was paying the price. His phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. A photo. Alessia. Tied to a chair. Alive. Terrified but alive. And below the photo, TikTok. Dante stared at the image, memorized every detail. The concrete walls, the industrial lighting, the window behind her showing darkness outside. He'd find her, and then he'd burn the world. Shit. 58 minutes later, Dante stood in the back of an SUV surrounded by weapons. Handguns, rifles, enough ammunition to start a small war, which was exactly what he intended to do. Carlo sat beside him. Teams are in position. Good. On my signal. The SUV rolled through the city. Streets gave way to industrial districts, warehouses and shipping containers, and places where law enforcement rarely ventured. The cannery loomed ahead, dark, seemingly abandoned. But Dante could see the telltale signs of occupation: fresh tire tracks, security cameras, the slight glow of interior lights bleeding through covered windows. Stop here, he ordered. The SUV stopped 3 blocks away. Dante exited. Carlo followed with 4 other men. Remember, Dante said, I want Volkov alive. Everyone else dies. They moved through shadows. Professional, silent. Years of practice making them nearly invisible. The cannery had 2 entrances, front and back. Dante signaled. 2 men peeled off toward the rear. The rest followed him to the front. Dante tested the door. Locked. He nodded to Carlo, who produced a small explosive charge, placed it carefully. They stepped back. The explosion was small, controlled, just enough to blow the lock. They went in fast. The interior was exactly what Alessia's photo had shown: concrete, industrial, and full of Volkov's men. Gunfire erupted immediately. Dante moved like he'd been born to violence. Each shot precise. Each movement calculated. He dropped 3 men before they could properly aim. Carlo took 2 more. The others provided cover. They pushed deeper into the building. Room by room, hallway by hallway, bodies fell. Blood painted concrete. And then Dante saw her. Alessia. Still tied to that chair. Alone in a room lit by a single bulb. No guards, no Volkov. A trap. He knew it was a trap. Went in anyway. The moment he crossed the threshold, doors slammed shut behind him. Magnetic locks engaged with heavy clicks, and Volkov stepped from the shadows. Predictable, he said. So very predictable. Dante raised his gun. Let her go. Or what? You'll shoot me? We both know you want me alive, for questioning, for revenge. Dead men give no satisfaction. I'll settle for dead, Volkov smiled. No, you won't. He pressed a button. The floor beneath Alessia's chair dropped away. She screamed. Dante lunged forward. Volkov's men appeared, 4 of them, blocking his path. Choose quickly, Volkov said. Fight my men or save her. You don't have time for both. Below, Alessia dangled above machinery. Industrial crushers designed to compact metal. Running, loud, lethal. Dante made his choice. He shot all 4 men in less than 3 seconds. Didn't aim for center mass. Aimed for knees. They dropped screaming. He vaulted over them toward Alessia. The chair was suspended by a single chain, lowering slowly, mechanically. She had maybe 90 seconds before the machinery grabbed her. Dante holstered his gun, grabbed the chain, started pulling. Help me, Alessia screamed over the machinery noise. I've got you, don't move. He hauled the chain up hand over hand. His shoulders screamed. The chain was heavy, too heavy. But he kept pulling because stopping meant watching her die. 60 seconds. His hands were bleeding, the chain cutting through flesh. He didn't care. 45 seconds. The chair rose inch by inch. Alessia's face was white, tears streaming. 30 seconds. Almost there. Almost. The chain snapped. Alessia dropped. Dante dove, caught her wrist as she fell. The momentum nearly ripped his arm from the socket. He gasped, held on. Below, the machinery churned. Hungry. Pull me up, Alessia screamed. Dante braced his feet against the edge, started hauling her up. She weighed almost nothing, but his grip was slippery with blood. Swing your other hand up! She did. He caught it, now holding her with both hands. He pulled, every muscle burning, his vision graying at the edges. She came up inch by inch until her elbows cleared the edge, then her torso, then her legs. They collapsed together on solid ground, both gasping. "You came?" she whispered. "Always." Behind them, Volkov laughed. "Touching, truly." Dante stood, positioned himself between Alessia and Volkov. "This ends now." "Does it?" Volkov gestured. More men appeared, at least a dozen, all armed. "I don't think you understand your situation." "I understand perfectly." Dante pulled out his phone, pressed one button. Across the city, his teams hit Volkov's operation simultaneously. The casino erupted in flames. The strip clubs raided by men who didn't take prisoners. The warehouses burned. Within 60 seconds, Volkov's empire was under siege from 5 directions at once. Volkov's phone started ringing. He ignored it. "You think destroying my operations changes anything?" he asked. "I think it changes everything. I still have you. I still have her. I still have enough men to kill you both." "You have men," Dante agreed. "But do you have time?" "What?" "Your operations are burning. Your money's gone. Your reputation's in ruins. How long before your own people turn on you?" Volkov's expression darkened. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Dante's smile was cold. "You built your empire on fear. But fear only works when people believe you're invincible. Tonight, I proved you're not." "By dying in my warehouse? By making you so desperate to kill me that you exposed every weakness you have?" Volkov's phone rang again. This time he answered, listened. His face went white. "All of them?" he said. Then, "How many dead?" Then, "Find them. Kill them all." He hung up, looked at Dante. "You'll pay for this." "Probably, but you'll pay first." Volkov raised his gun, aimed at Alicia. "Then she dies." "No," said a new voice. Everyone turned. Marcus Chen stood in the doorway, bloodied, beaten, holding a gun that shook in his hands. "Marcus?" Alessia whispered. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "For everything. But I can't let him kill you." "You betrayed her," Dante said. "I know. And I'll die for that. But not before I fix it." He turned the gun on Volkov. "Don't be stupid," Volkov said. "Too late for that." Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Volkov's men moved. Marcus fired first. The shot went wide. Volkov's men returned fire. Marcus's body jerked. Once, twice, 3 times. He dropped. In the chaos, Dante grabbed Alicia and ran. Behind them, Volkov screamed orders. Gunfire erupted. The warehouse became a war zone. Dante kicked open a service door. They burst into an alley. The SUV was there, Carlo at the wheel. "Go!" Dante shoved Alessia inside, climbed in after her. The SUV peeled out. Behind them, the warehouse exploded. Not from fire. From the charges Dante's men had planted while Volkov was distracted. The building collapsed inward, concrete and steel falling in a cloud of dust and death. Carlo drove like the devil was chasing them. Maybe he was. Alessia sat pressed against Dante's side, shaking, her hands covered in his blood. "You're hurt," she said. "I'm fine. Your hands will heal." He pulled her closer. "Are you hurt?" "No, I don't think so." "The baby?" Her hands went to her stomach. "I don't know." "We'll get you to a hospital." "No, no hospitals. They'll ask questions." "I don't care." "Dante, I almost lost you today." His voice cracked. "I'm not taking chances with your health." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Marcus is dead." "Yes. He saved us. He got you captured first." "I know, but at the end, he did one decent thing in his miserable life. That doesn't erase the rest." Alessia leaned her head against his shoulder. "I was so scared." "I know. I thought I was going to die, that the baby was going to die, that you wouldn't find me in time. I'll always find you." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." The SUV wove through streets. Behind them, sirens wailed, fire trucks, police, ambulances rushing toward a disaster that would make headlines tomorrow. Carlo glanced in the rearview mirror. "Where to, boss?" "The house. Then we disappear for a while." Volkov might have survived. He didn't. How do you know? Because I planted the charges myself, right under where he was standing. If he survived that, he's not human. They drove in silence. The city blurred past. Alessia's breathing slowly steadied. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we make sure you and the baby are safe, then we rebuild." "Rebuild what?" "Everything Volkov destroyed trying to destroy us." "And if his people come for revenge?" "They won't. Not after tonight. They'll scatter, find new bosses. The ones who don't will end up in the ground." Alessia was quiet. Then, "I lied to him. Volkov. Told him I'd betray you. Gave him fake information." "I know." "How?" "Because you're smart, and you knew the only way to survive was to make yourself valuable." I was terrified. "You were brilliant." She looked up at him. "I thought about the baby, about never getting to meet them, about dying alone in that warehouse." "You're not alone. You'll never be alone again." "How can you know that?" "Because I'm not letting you go, ever." The words should have scared her. Instead, they felt like safety, like home. The SUV pulled through the mansion gates. They closed behind them with terminal finality. Inside, Isabella waited. She took one look at them, bloodied, exhausted, traumatized, and simply opened her arms. Alessia walked into them, let herself be held, let herself finally break. She cried, great racking sobs that shook her entire body. Isabella held her through all of it, murmuring in Italian. Words Alessia didn't understand but felt anyway. When she finally stopped, Isabella pulled back, studied her face. "The baby?" she asked. "I don't know." "Then we check, now." Isabella led her upstairs, to a room Alicia hadn't seen before. Medical equipment, an examination table, everything needed for emergency treatment. "You have a doctor?" Alicia asked. "We have everything we need to survive without hospitals." Isabella helped her onto the table. "Lie back." A woman entered, late 40s, professional. She didn't introduce herself, just washed her hands and began the examination. Alessia stared at the ceiling while strange hands pressed her stomach, while questions were asked and answered, while her worst fears waited to be confirmed or denied. Finally, the doctor stepped back. "The baby's fine, heartbeat strong, no signs of distress." Alessia's breath came out in a rush. "You're sure?" "I'm sure, but you need to rest. No stress? No excitement? At least a week of complete bed rest." "I can do that." The doctor left. Isabella squeezed her hand. "See? Everything's fine." But Alessia didn't feel fine. She felt like she'd been shattered and poorly reassembled, like pieces of her were still scattered across that warehouse floor. Dante appeared in the doorway. He'd cleaned up, changed clothes, but exhaustion lined his face. "The baby?" he asked. "Fine," Isabella said, "but she needs rest." "I'll make sure she gets it." Isabella looked between them. "I'll give you privacy." She left them alone. Dante sat on the edge of the examination table, took Alessia's hand. His palm was bandaged, blood seeping through. "You need medical attention too," she said. "Later." "Dante, later." He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "I thought I lost you." "You didn't." "I almost did. If Marcus hadn't—" He stopped, swallowed. "If he hadn't distracted Volkov's men, we wouldn't have made it out." "He died trying to fix what he broke. He died because he was too stupid to walk away when he had the chance." Alessia was quiet. Then, "What happens to his body?" "Police will ID him eventually. Notify next of kin if he has any. None of it touches you. He was my husband. He was a coward who sold you to monsters. Don't mourn him." "I'm not mourning him, I'm just—" She stopped, tried to find words. "I'm just acknowledging that he's gone, and our baby will never know their biological father." Dante's hand tightened on hers. "Your baby will know a father, just not him." "Dante, I mean it. I claimed this baby when I claimed you. That doesn't change because Marcus is dead." Alessia stared at him, at this man covered in blood and exhaustion who looked at her stomach like it held the most precious thing in the world. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that?" Because I love you. The words hit like a physical blow. Alicia's breath caught. You can't. I can. And I do. We barely know each other. I know you're strong. I know you're smart. I know you lied to a Russian mobster and survived. I know you walked into danger to try to end a war. I know you fight for what matters even when you're terrified. He leaned closer. I know enough. This is insane. Probably. We shouldn't, but we are. Alessia closed her eyes. I can't think about this right now. Then don't. Just let me take care of you. For how long? As long as you'll let me. She opened her eyes, met his gaze. What if I can't love you back? Then I'll love you anyway. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, but it's real. Alessia's hand went to her stomach, to the baby growing inside, the baby that would never know Marcus but might know Dante, might call him father, might grow up in a world of violence and money and protection bought with blood. I need time, she said. Take all the time you need. And space. You have an entire mansion. Despite everything, she almost smiled. You're not going to make this easy, are you? No. Why not? Because easy things don't last. And I plan on lasting. He stood, pressed a kiss to her forehead, then left her alone with her thoughts and her fears and the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, she could build something real from the ashes of everything that had burned. Tickets. 3 days passed. Alicia stayed in bed per doctor's orders. Isabella brought meals, books, company when Alessia wanted it, and silence when she didn't. Dante appeared twice a day, morning and night. Never stayed long, never pushed. Just checked that she was okay and left. On the 4th day, Alessia got out of bed. She found Dante in his office. He looked up when she entered. You should be resting. I've rested enough. The doctor said, The doctor doesn't get to decide when I'm ready. Alessia moved closer. I need to know something. What? Is Volkov really dead? Yes. We found his body in the rubble, or what was left of it. And his organization? Scattered, leaderless, some of his people reached out asking for terms. I gave them a choice. Work for me or leave the city. Most chose work. So you won. The war's over. For now. What does that mean? It means there's always another Volkov, another threat, another war waiting to happen. Alessia was quiet. Then, I can't live like this forever. I know. But I can't leave either. Why not? She met his eyes. Because you were right when you said I was stronger than I thought. I am. But I'm also tired of being strong alone. You don't have to be. I know. She moved closer. I'm not ready to love you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm ready to try trusting you. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Hope, raw and fragile. That's enough, he said. Is it? For now. For as long as it takes. Alessia nodded. Then we have a deal. You protect me and the baby, and I'll try to build something with you, whatever that looks like. Deal. They shook hands, professional, formal. Then Dante pulled her close and held her. Just held her. While somewhere in the city, men rebuilt what had been destroyed. While police investigated explosions they'd never solve. While a new order took shape from the chaos. And in that moment, standing in the arms of a man who'd killed for her and would kill again, Alicia Rivers finally stopped running and started believing that maybe, just maybe, she could survive this after all. But survival, she was learning, was just the beginning. The real test would be learning to live. The nightmares started on the 5th day. Alessia would wake gasping, sheets soaked with sweat, the sound of machinery still grinding in her ears. In her dreams, the chain always snapped. Dante never caught her. She fell screaming into metal teeth that crushed bone and flesh without mercy. The baby always died with her. She stopped sleeping, spent nights pacing her room or standing at the window watching guards patrol grounds that felt less like protection and more like a beautiful cage. Dante noticed. He always noticed. On the 7th night, he knocked on her door at 3 a.m. Can't sleep? He asked. No. Neither can I. They ended up in the kitchen. Dante made tea. Alessia sat at the island watching him move with the kind of efficiency that came from too many sleepless nights. How long does it last? She asked. The nightmares. Depends on the person. Could be weeks. Could be years. Years? Some things don't heal. They just become part of you. Alessia wrapped her hands around the mug he set in front of her. That's not comforting. I'm not trying to comfort you. I'm trying to be honest. I'm tired of honesty. I want lies that make me feel better. Dante sat across from her. You want me to tell you everything's going to be fine? That you'll wake up tomorrow and forget you almost died? That the baby growing inside you won't carry the weight of what happened? Yes. I won't lie to you. Not about this. Alicia's eyes burned. Then what am I supposed to do? You survive, one day at a time, until surviving becomes living again. And if it doesn't, then you fake it until it does. She looked at him, really looked, at the exhaustion around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands weren't quite steady. You're having nightmares too, she said. Yes. About what? About being 3 seconds too late. About the chain breaking before I caught you. About watching you die while I could do nothing but scream. His voice was flat, empty. So yes, I have nightmares. Alessia reached across the island, took his hand. His fingers closed around hers immediately. They sat like that in silence, two broken people holding each other across expensive marble while the rest of the world slept. That's it. 2 weeks after the warehouse, Alicia's body finally betrayed her. She was in the garden, walking the path that had become routine, when pain lanced through her abdomen, sharp, vicious. She doubled over, gasping. Blood. She felt warmth between her legs, looked down, red spreading across her jeans. No, she whispered. No, no, no. She tried to walk back to the house, made it 5 steps before her legs gave out. She collapsed on the stone path, one hand pressed against her stomach, the other reaching for her phone. Dante answered on the first ring. Alessia? Something's wrong. The baby. I'm bleeding. Where are you? Garden, near the fountain. Don't move. I'm coming. He was there in less than a minute. Scooped her up like she weighed nothing, ran toward the house shouting orders. The doctor appeared. The same woman from before. She examined Alessia on the bed while Dante paced like a caged animal. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the doctor straightened. It's not a miscarriage, just spotting, common in the second trimester, especially after trauma. Alessia's breath came out in a sob. The baby's okay? The baby's fine, heartbeat strong, but you need complete bed rest, no walking, no stress, nothing but rest for at least 2 weeks. I can do that. The doctor packed her equipment. I'll come back tomorrow to check on you. She left. Dante stood frozen by the window. Dante? Alessia said. He didn't turn. I thought, his voice cracked, when you called, I thought I was about to lose you both. You didn't. But I almost did. Again. Alessia pushed herself up despite the doctor's orders. Crossed to him. Put her hand on his shoulder. I'm here. The baby's here. We're both fine. Dante turned. His eyes were wet. She'd never seen him cry. Hadn't thought him capable of it. I can't lose you, he whispered. You won't. You don't know that. No. But I believe it anyway. He pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. And Alessia let him. Let herself be held. Let herself feel safe in the arms of a man who'd proven he'd burn the world to keep her breathing. Something shifted in that moment. Something fundamental. She wasn't falling in love with him. She'd already fallen. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt inevitable, like gravity, like coming home. 3 weeks passed. The spotting stopped. Alessia's strength returned. The nightmares faded to occasional interruptions instead of nightly torture. She spent days in the library reading, nights in the garden watching stars, mornings having breakfast with Isabella, who'd stayed despite Dante's insistence she leave. Someone needs to make sure you don't destroy each other, Isabella had said. She wasn't wrong. Alessia and Dante circled each other like planets caught in mutual orbit. Pulled together by gravity, neither could resist. Pushed apart by fears neither could name. Until the night, everything changed again. Alessia was in her room, trying to sleep, when she heard shouting downstairs. Male voices, angry. She got up, opened her door. The library was full of men, Dante's people, all talking at once. Can't just let him walk. Sign the agreements. Betrayed us before? He'll do it again. Dante stood behind his desk, arms crossed, face carved from stone. Enough. Silence fell. Victor made his choice, Dante continued. He wants out. I'm granting his request. Boss, he knows too much, Vite. He's also been loyal for 15 years. That counts for something. Not when he's leaving to work for the Italians. He's not working for them. He's retiring. That's what he says now. What about in 6 months when they come calling with enough money to make him talk? Dante's jaw tightened. Then I'll handle it. But until then, he walks. Free, untouched. You're making a mistake. Probably. But it's my mistake to make. The men dispersed, muttering, unhappy. Alessia watched them go. When the room was empty except for Dante, she entered. Trouble? She asked. Always. He poured himself whiskey. One of my lieutenants wants out, retire, spend time with his grandkids. And your men don't like that? They think he's a liability, that he'll talk, sell information. Will he? No. Victor's old school. Loyalty matters more than money. Dante drank. But they don't believe that anymore. They think everyone has a price. Do they? Most people do. The question is whether you can afford it. Alessia sat in the chair across from him. What's yours? My price? Yes. What would it take to buy you? Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, there's nothing anyone could offer that matters more than what I already have. Which is? He met her eyes. You, the baby. This life we're building. Alessia's breath caught. Dante, I'm not asking you to say it back. I'm just telling you the truth. You're my price. The only thing in this world I wouldn't sacrifice for the right offer. That's terrifying, I know, but it's real. She didn't know what to say, so she stood, crossed to him, took the whiskey from his hand and set it down. Then she kissed him. Not desperate like last time, not fearful, just honest. A kiss that said what words couldn't. When they broke apart, Dante's hand came up to cup her face. Tell me what you're thinking, he said. I'm thinking I'm tired of being afraid. Of what? Of this. Of you. Of feeling things I swore I'd never feel again after Marcus. Alessia, let me finish. She took a breath. I'm tired of being afraid, so I'm choosing not to be. What does that mean? It means I love you, and I'm terrified, and I'm doing it anyway. Dante's eyes went wide. Say that again. I love you. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. He kissed her, deep, consuming. A kiss that tasted like promise and fear and hope all tangled together. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alessia said, I'm still scared. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Is that all it does? No. Sometimes it makes you brave enough to risk everything. Is that what we're doing? Risking everything? Yes. And if we lose, then we lose together. Alessia rested her forehead against his. I can live with that. They stood like that for a long time, just breathing, just being. And somewhere in that moment, Alessia felt something shift. The weight she'd been carrying since Marcus, since the divorce, since discovering she was pregnant and alone. It didn't disappear, but it became bearable, because she wasn't carrying it alone anymore. The pregnancy progressed. Weeks turned into months. Alessia's stomach grew. The baby kicked. Dante bought every parenting book in existence and read them all with the kind of intensity he usually reserved for business. Isabella laughed at him. You can't learn how to be a father from a book. I can try. You'll fail. Every parent does. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be honest. Alessia watched their interactions with something like wonder. She'd never had this. Family that stayed, people who showed up and kept showing up even when it was hard. At 6 months, they found out the baby was a girl. Dante cried when the ultrasound technician told them. Actually cried. Tears streaming down his face while he stared at the screen showing a tiny human with functioning organs and limbs that moved. A daughter, he whispered. Yes, Alessia said. Is that okay? It's perfect. That night he made a phone call. Alicia only heard his side. I need you to increase security around the house. Double the guards. Triple the cameras. I want every entrance monitored, every window secured. I want this place to be a fortress. When he hung up, Alicia asked, What was that about? I'm having a daughter. That means someday men will look at her the way I look at women, and I need to make sure she's protected. Dante, she's not even born yet. I know, but preparation takes time. Despite herself, Alessia smiled. You're going to be one of those dads, aren't you? What kind? The overprotective kind who interrogates every boy she brings home. Absolutely. She's going to hate you. Probably, but she'll be safe. Alessia crossed to him, took his hand, placed it on her stomach where the baby was kicking. Feel that? She asked. Yes. That's your daughter, already fighting, already strong. She's not going to need as much protection as you think. Everyone needs protection. Maybe, but not everyone needs a fortress. Dante was quiet. Then, what if I don't know how to do this? Be a father, raise a daughter, be the kind of man she deserves. Then we figure it out together. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's possible. His hand spread across her stomach, reverent, protective. What should we name her? Alessia had been thinking about this for weeks. Sophia. Why Sophia? It means wisdom. And after everything that's happened, I want her to be smarter than both of us. Dante smiled. Sophia Russo. I like it. Not Chen? No, she's mine. In every way that matters. She gets my name. And if she asks about Marcus someday, we'll tell her the truth, that her biological father was a complicated man who made terrible choices, but that she was loved anyway. By you. By me. By everyone who matters. Alessia's eyes burned. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more. They stood like that, his hand on her stomach, her hand over his, feeling their daughter move between them. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Alessia felt something that wasn't fear or exhaustion or desperation. She felt hope. At 7 months, complications started. Alessia's blood pressure spiked. The doctor ordered bed rest again, this time stricter. No walking, no stairs, nothing but lying still and letting her body grow a human. Dante became obsessive, checked on her every hour, brought meals, books, anything she wanted. You don't have to do this, Alicia said. I have Isabella. I have staff. I want to. Why? Because you're carrying my daughter. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable. She's not yours biologically. She's mine in every way that matters. Biology doesn't make a father. Choice does. The certainty in his voice still caught her off guard sometimes. This man who'd built an empire on violence and control looked at her stomach with more tenderness than Marcus had ever shown her face. What if I'm not a good mother? She asked one night. You will be. You don't know that. Yes, I do. You fought for her before she was born. You'll fight for her after. Fighting isn't the same as being a good parent. No, but it's a start. At 8 months, Alessia's water broke 3 weeks early. She was in bed reading when she felt warmth spread. Looked down, saw liquid, called for Dante. He appeared instantly. What's wrong? My water broke. His face went white. It's too early. Babies come when they're ready. But, Dante, call the doctor, now. He did. The doctor arrived within 20 minutes, examined Alicia and nodded. You're in labor, early, but not dangerously so. We need to get you to the hospital. No hospitals, Dante said. Dante, Alicia started. No hospitals. Too public. Too exposed. We deliver here. The doctor looked uncertain. I don't have everything I'd need for complications. Then get it. Whatever you need. I'll have it here within the hour. The doctor pulled out her phone, started making calls. Alicia grabbed Dante's hand. I need drugs. All the drugs. You'll have them. And you. I need you here. I'm not going anywhere. Labor lasted 14 hours. Alessia had epidurals and pain medication and every modern medical intervention available, but nothing prepared her for the intensity. The pain that came in waves. The exhaustion that went bone deep. Dante stayed beside her the entire time, held her hand, let her scream at him. Took every curse and threat without flinching. At hour 12, complications started. The baby's heart rate dropped. We need to do a C-section, the doctor said. Do it, Dante ordered. They prepped her, draped her, cut her open with clinical efficiency. Alessia felt pulling, pressure. Then suddenly, a cry. High and angry and perfect. It's a girl, the doctor said. They cleaned her, wrapped her, placed her on Alicia's chest. She was tiny, red, screaming, beautiful. Sophia, Alessia whispered. The baby quieted, like she recognized her name. Dante stood frozen, staring, his face wet with tears. Do you want to hold her? Alessia asked. He nodded, couldn't speak. The doctor transferred Sophia to his arms. He held her like she was made of glass, like one wrong move would shatter her. She's perfect, he whispered. She's ours. Dante looked at Alessia. Thank you. For what? For her, for this, for letting me be part of it. You're her father. You don't need to thank me for that. Yes, I do. Because you could have kept her from me. Could have left after Volkov. Could have chosen to raise her alone. I could have, but I didn't want to. Why not? Because you're family, and family stays. Something broke in Dante's expression. He sat carefully on the edge of the bed, one arm around their daughter, the other reaching for Alicia. They sat like that, a family formed from chaos and violence and a courthouse collision that had changed everything. And in that moment, holding their daughter while recovery began, Alessia realized something. She'd been looking for safety her entire life. In Marcus. In minimum wage jobs. In keeping her head down and not making waves. But safety wasn't a place. It wasn't money or stability or walls that kept the world out. Safety was this. Choosing someone who chose you back. Building something real from broken pieces. Being brave enough to love despite every reason not to. The first month was hell. Sophia didn't sleep, screamed for hours, only quieted when held. Alessia was exhausted in ways she didn't know were possible. Dante helped, changed diapers, did midnight feedings, walked the halls holding their daughter while she screamed herself hoarse. Isabella appeared one morning and took over. Sleep, she ordered. Both of you. I'll handle her. But, Alessia started. Sleep. Now. Before you both collapse. They slept for 12 hours. Woke to find Sophia calm, fed, content in Isabella's arms. How did you do that? Alessia asked. Practice. I raised Dante. This is easy by comparison. At 2 months, Sophia started sleeping through the night. At 3 months, she smiled. At 4 months, she laughed. Dante was obsessed, took thousands of photos, talked to her constantly, read her books she couldn't possibly understand. Alessia watched him with something like wonder. This man who'd killed without hesitation was reduced to helpless adoration by an infant who couldn't even hold her own head up. You're good at this, she said one night. At what? Being a father. I'm terrified every second that I'm going to break her. You won't. How do you know? Because you love her too much to let that happen. Dante looked down at Sophia sleeping in his arms. I never understood it before. Love like this. The kind that makes you want to destroy anything that might hurt them. It's terrifying. It's everything. At 6 months, Sophia said her first word. Dada, Dante cried. Actually cried, while Alicia laughed and recorded the moment on her phone. She said it, Dante whispered. She called me Dada. That's usually what happens with first words, but I'm not... He stopped. Biologically, I'm not her father. Biology doesn't matter. You're the one who stays. That makes you her father in every way that counts. He looked at her. Do you really believe that? I married you, didn't I? The ceremony had been quiet, private. Just them and Isabella and a judge who asked no questions. No big wedding, no white dress, just vows exchanged and rings that meant something. Alessia had taken his name, became Alessia Russo without regret, because by then the past felt like it belonged to someone else. Some different woman who'd survived Marcus and Volkov and almost dying in a warehouse. This woman, the one who existed now, was stronger, harder, less willing to accept bullshit, but also softer, more willing to trust, brave enough to love. On Sophia's first birthday, they threw a party. Small. Just family and the few friends Alessia had made among Dante's people. The mansion was decorated. Cake was ordered. Presents piled high. Sophia sat in her high chair, covered in frosting, laughing while everyone sang. Alessia stood beside Dante, watching their daughter destroy her birthday cake with determined enthusiasm. We did it, she said. Did what? Survived. Built a family. Made it work. You sound surprised. I am. A year ago I was divorced and pregnant and terrified. Now I'm happy. She looked at him. Yes, happy. Good. That's all I wanted. Liar. You wanted me. That too. They kissed. Soft, quick, the kind of kiss that said later and meant it. Isabella appeared with Sophia, who reached for Dante with frosting-covered hands. Dada! He took her without hesitation, let her smear cake all over his expensive shirt. My girls, he said quietly. Alessia leaned against him. Your girls. And in that moment, surrounded by people who'd become family, watching her daughter laugh while covered in cake, married to a man who'd proven he'd burn the world to keep them safe. Alessia finally understood something her mother had tried to tell her years ago. Home wasn't a place. It was people. The ones who stayed when leaving was easier. The ones who fought for you when you couldn't fight for yourself. The ones who looked at your broken pieces and decided you were worth protecting anyway. This was home. Dante, Sophia, Isabella. This beautiful chaos they'd built from violence and fear and a courthouse collision that had changed everything. It wasn't perfect. Probably never would be. Dante still ran an empire built on activities that existed in legal gray areas. Still made decisions that kept him up at night. Still carried the weight of men who died under his orders. But he was hers. And she was his. And Sophia was theirs. That was enough. 2 years later, Alicia stood in the nursery doorway watching Dante rock Sophia to sleep. She was 3 now. All energy and questions and fierce independence that reminded Alessia of herself. Dada, why is the sky blue? Sophia asked for the 100th time. Because light scatters differently through the atmosphere, Dante said patiently. Why? Because of molecules. What's molecules? Tiny pieces of matter too small to see. Can I see them? Not without a microscope. What's a microscope? Sophia, sleep time. But I'm not tired. Yes, you are. Close your eyes. Sophia closed her eyes, opened them immediately. See? Not tired. Dante looked helplessly at Alicia. She smiled. Your turn, he mouthed. She crossed to them, took Sophia from his arms. Story time. The princess one? Sure. Alessia settled into the rocking chair. Sophia curled against her chest. She started the familiar story. The princess who'd been trapped in a tower, rescued by a knight, lived happily ever after. Except Alessia changed the ending. And the princess realized she didn't need rescuing. She'd been saving herself the whole time. The knight just helped her remember she was strong enough to fight. Sophia yawned. I like that version better. Me too, baby. By the time she finished, Sophia was asleep. Alessia stood carefully, placed her daughter in the crib they'd soon need to replace with a real bed. Dante waited in the hallway. New ending? The old one was bullshit. Agreed. He pulled her close. Did I ever tell you what I thought when I first saw you? That I looked like a disaster? That you looked like you'd been fighting your whole life, and that you were so tired of it, and that given the choice between helping you or watching you drown, I couldn't walk away. That's not very romantic. I'm not a romantic man. No, but you're mine. Always. They walked to their bedroom, the one they'd shared for 2 years now, the one that still sometimes felt surreal. Like she'd wake up and find herself back in her old apartment with $43 and a baby she couldn't afford. But she never did, because this was real. The mansion, the family, the man who'd looked at her broken life and decided she was worth protecting. Alessia changed into pajamas. Dante did the same. They climbed into bed. "Do you ever regret it?" Alessia asked. "Taking me in? Starting a war over me?" "Never." "Not even a little?" "Not even a little." She was quiet. Then, "I'm pregnant again." Dante sat up. "What?" "Found out this morning, about 8 weeks." "And you're just telling me now?" "I wanted to be sure first." "Are you happy?" "Terrified. But yes, happy." Dante pulled her close, kissed her forehead. "We're doing this again." "Apparently." "Another girl?" "Don't know yet. But probably, knowing our luck." "I hope it's a girl." "Why?" "Because if Sophia's anything like you, I want her to have a sister who understands what it's like being raised by us." Despite herself, Alessia laughed. "We're going to fuck them up so badly." "Probably, but we'll love them anyway. That's your solution to everything. It's worked so far." She couldn't argue with that. They lay together in the darkness, Dante's hand on her stomach, Alessia's hand over his. And somewhere in that quiet, Alessia thought about the woman she'd been. The one who'd walked out of that courthouse with divorce papers and a secret pregnancy and $43 to her name. That woman had been broken, scared, surviving on fumes and stubborn refusal to give up. This woman, the one who existed now, was different, stronger. Not because she'd stopped being scared, but because she'd learned that being scared didn't mean being weak. She'd survived Marcus, survived Volkov, survived becoming a mother when she barely knew how to survive herself. And she'd done it with a man who'd proven that love didn't have to be gentle to be real, that protection didn't always mean safety, that family was built from choice, not biology. "I love you," she whispered. "I know." "Say it back." "I love you, more than anything, more than this empire, more than my own life." "That's excessive." "It's honest." Alessia smiled into the darkness. "Good, because you're stuck with me now. I'm counting on it." They fell asleep like that, tangled together. A family built from courthouse collisions and warehouse rescues and choosing each other every single day. It wasn't the life Alessia had planned, wasn't the fairy tale ending she'd been taught to want. But it was real, and it was hers, and it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. The rain hammered against the windows the night Alicia went into labor with their second daughter. 4 years had passed since that courthouse collision. 4 years of building a life from broken pieces, of learning to trust, to love, to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved the happiness she'd found. Dante drove her to the hospital this time. They'd agreed. 2 home births were enough. This one happened with doctors and equipment and people who knew what they were doing. Labor was faster, only 6 hours. Less painful with the epidural. And when their second daughter arrived, screaming and perfect and absolutely furious about being born, Dante cried just like he had with Sophia. "Another girl," Alessia said. "Perfect." "You're going to be outnumbered." "I already am." They named her Elena, after Dante's grandmother, after the woman who taught him that strength came in different forms. Sophia met her sister the next day, stood on her toes to peer into the bassinet. "She's small," Sophia announced. "You were that small once," Alessia said. "Really? Really? Can I hold her?" "When you're sitting down." Dante lifted Sophia onto the hospital bed, carefully placed Elena in her arms, supervised while Sophia stared at her sister with wonder. "I'm going to protect her," Sophia declared. "From what?" Dante asked. "Everything bad." Alessia and Dante exchanged looks. Their daughter. Already fierce, already protective, already so much like them it was terrifying. "She's lucky to have you," Alicia said. "I know." Sophia looked up. Can we keep her? Despite the exhaustion, despite the pain, despite everything, Alicia laughed. Yes, baby, we're keeping her. Good. They went home 3 days later, to the mansion that had transformed from prison to fortress to home, to Isabella waiting with soup and criticism about how they'd dress the baby, to guards who nodded respectfully, to a life that shouldn't have worked but did anyway. That night, with both daughters sleeping in the nursery and Dante passed out from exhaustion beside her, Alessia lay awake thinking about Marcus, who died in a warehouse trying to fix what he'd broken, about Volkov, buried under concrete and forgotten by everyone except the people he'd terrorized, about the woman she'd been, desperate and alone and convinced she'd die before she was 30. She'd survived. More than survived. She'd built something real, something lasting, something that terrified her and completed her in equal measure. Her phone buzzed. A message from Shanice, her old coworker from the cafe. They'd reconnected months ago. Shanice had sent a simple text. Saw the baby announcement. Congrats, girl. You deserve this. Alessia stared at those words. You deserve this. Did she? She'd made terrible choices. Married the wrong man. Dragged herself into situations she barely survived. But maybe that was the point. Maybe deserving wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about surviving imperfectly and choosing to build something better from the wreckage. She typed back, "Thank you. I'm happy." And she was. Dante stirred beside her. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About? About how 4 years ago I was signing divorce papers in a courthouse, and now I'm here, with you, with our daughters, with a life I never imagined. Regrets? None. Good. He pulled her closer. Because I'm not letting you go, ever. Possessive. Honest. Alessia settled against his chest, listened to his heartbeat, steady, strong, real. Dante? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For catching me when I fell. Always. They fell asleep like that. Two people who'd collided in a courthouse and built an empire from the aftermath, who'd survived violence and betrayal and almost dying, who'd chosen each other every single day despite every reason not to. And in the nursery down the hall, 2 daughters slept peacefully, protected by walls and guards and parents who'd proven they'd burn the world to keep them safe. The rain continued to fall, washing away the past, making room for the future. And Alessia Rivers, now Alessia Russo, finally stopped running from the ghost that had chased her, because she'd found something stronger than fear. She'd found home, not in a place, not in safety, not in the absence of danger, but in the man sleeping beside her, in the daughters they'd created, in the family they'd built from courthouse collisions and warehouse rescues and choosing each other when the entire world said they shouldn't. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and real was enough, more than enough. It was everything.